and gals, and everybody else.
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
Wrong.
We always do about this time.
When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
All right, we're live. What's going on, guys? I appreciate you joining me once again. It is Sunday, October, what? Is it the 5th of today? I think it's the 5th of October today. I appreciate you joining me once again. Hit that like button on the way in. Please do so. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribing is that free thing that you can do. That's different than a membership. A lot of people may be a little bit confused. So, just in case anybody's new to the program, anybody's new to YouTube, you can do the subscription, which is just subscribing. That's a free one-click button, just like you do with the thumbs up. Or if you want to go the extra step, you can become a channel member. Just underneath me somewhere, there is an option to sign up for, I believe, $2.99 to become a channel member. There isn't, but there should be a Venmo up in the corner that you guys can always take a picture of if you're in the mood, if you're in the position to, again, bust a buck and try your luck in supporting some financial, some independent media that, doesn't sell you anything, has no ads, isn't, again, sleeping on a mattress that I received last night that I'm telling everybody that I've slept on for the last 25 years and it's changed my life. None of that stuff. And I hope to keep that, I hope to keep that going. I hope to keep that stretch going. So without the help of you guys, it is not a possibility. So let me bring in you fabulous, wonderful people. What's up, Corey? What's up, dude? What's up, Roxanne, Alton, Wes, Tricinia? What's going on? What up, Gamer? Victor? I smoke and I know things. What's happening? Hi, Eileen. Hi, Karen. What up, Dame Dog? Kinky? What's up, Ally? Mountain Bike? What's happening, Leron? Sammy? Appreciate you guys for being here. Johnny, appreciate that. Coming from Texas, Paul Chatter, recommended every week. You guys are the best. I appreciate you so much for joining me from other spaces. And I appreciate people that go into other spaces and kind of try to not redirect, but, try to keep blunt politics in the political zeitgeist, in the minds of people in other chats as well. So thank you guys for spreading the word. People that continuously share on Blue Sky, on any social media platform that you're on. It goes a long way. And it, every now and then it catches a group of people that may not have watched this show to begin with. And then we can grow the channel from there. So thank you so much. And thank you to the mods. As always, we'll be doing a lot of jumping around today. Let me see if I can bring in a couple of the stories we'll be talking about. Today's going to be a little bit more, let's see if I can find this one. Today's going to be a little bit more Ukraine-based. We're going to be talking about Gaza as well, Patriot missile systems. We're going to be talking about Tomahawk missiles. We'll be taking a look at Tim Pool's got a video that I wanted to take a look at. Matt Gaetz, I don't know if you got here. Let me see if I can bring a couple of these things up. So there was a couple recent strikes. I'll put this on the screen for you guys. So there was a couple of recent strikes by Russia, this time on a civilian train that we'll be talking about, obviously discussing the difference between the targets that Ukraine, is targeting and the places that Russia continues to strike on a day-to-day basis. There are some other reports from different areas around. Oh, thank you so much, Star Gal. I appreciate that so much. Happy Sunday, Brian. Wish I could sub over on Twitch. All good. Don't worry about it. I think right now the only platform that I'm monetized on is YouTube. So anybody that can help here, anybody that can sign up here, don't worry about doing it on other other places like that because I don't know. It's just there's so many hoops to jump through, and for some reason I feel like I've jumped through them all, and they just still won't have me. I don't know what the hell is going on, but we'll figure it out. So thank you, Stargal. I really appreciate that. Thank you for kicking off in the right way. And you too can give a super chat or a super thanks, super sticker, just like Stargal here, and it goes a long way in helping this channel grow. So I appreciate you, Stargal. Stargale. Thank you so much. A multitude of different ways. You can gift memberships. You can sign up yourself. You can sign up at patreon.com/BostonBrian. Those are really the spinal tissue, the spinal cord, and the backbone of this community. The members are the Patreon members, and it's just, thank you, Wes. Let's fucking go. You guys are unbelievable. Let's go. 7 angel kisses to start the show. Hit the thumbs up, everybody. Thank you, Wes. I appreciate you, brother. Hoping you're having a wonderful weekend. Oh, let's go. Machine Tool. Happy to have you for 4 months, my man. Checking in from where. Oh, let's go. Let's go. All right. So I appreciate you, Machine Tool. Hope you're staying safe. Please tell everybody in the community that I said hello and I wish them well, and Slava Ukraina and Heroyam Slava. I appreciate you, brother. I really do. I really do. Thank you for checking in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your loyalty to the channel. I really appreciate that. So that's a couple of the stories that we'll be talking about. That I think has just a couple pictures, and then we'll be talking about the Leningrad region in Kryvyi, where this the refining plant has been hit, where I believe it says something like here, where 6.4% of the country's total refining capabilities. Let me see if I can bring this up, which is this one right here. So there's good. And the Russians love putting this shit on social media. They just cannot get enough of their own oil refineries burning. they just cannot help themselves but post these things, which again leads to more confrontation inside the Russian government. We'll be discussing this here. Ukraine confirms drone strike on one of the Russia's biggest, most modern oil refineries near St. Pete, which is a good sign. What else do we got talking? Oh, you guys will never believe this. You guys will never believe. Well, you probably will believe this, considering the incompetency and the ignorance of the Trump administration. Slacks. Fucking slacks. Let's go, brother. Slava Ukraini, he says, love to Brian, Mel, Dunkery Dog, Logan, love to all the Bryantologists, and thanks in advance for all your kind greetings. Thank you so much, Slacks. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you for fighting here on the front lines of democracy. We appreciate you for being here every show, and thank you so much for being a huge part of the community, right? So this is right here a video depicting how Steve Witkoff, upon his meeting with Vladimir Putin in Moscow, not only did not bring in a translator, an interpreter set up by the American embassy, by the U.S. embassy, or the State Department, or any the CIA, anybody that we can trust. But he actually used a Russian spy as a translator. And we've talked on this show at length sometimes about when world leaders are meeting, like the little cues that you could pick up on, right? Like there's not so much discussion going on in terms of rhetoric and words sometimes when world leaders meet, especially in these important occasions when there's wars going on and they're trying to settle wars, right? So there's a lot to be picked up about, where the cars pull up, where the planes pull up, where they're made to park, who gets off first, the body language, that type of stuff is really, really, it's very much focused on, right, and magnified when these situations happen. So for Russia to now know that the Trump administration and Steve Witkoff in particular are so fucking stupid, naive, and ignorant that they would actually not bring their own translator, translator to such an important meeting in Moscow is almost too dumb to comprehend. Oh, thank you so much, Kathleen. Thank you so much. Happy Sunday, Brian. I keep having to leave chat rooms lately with so much bullshit going on because it's overwhelming, but I appreciate your honesty and energy. Well, thank you so much, Kathleen. I very much appreciate that. I try to be as real as possible. I know I end up pissing people off on both sides sometimes, and it's not exactly what you want to hear, but I do think a lot of this stuff is what you need to hear. I know there's, with the shutdown in the U.S. government, with, the rampage that ICE is continuously on in the United States, and with what's going on in geopolitics and abroad, like it's very easy to get overwhelmed. But I think it's very important that, the more knowledge you have on these situations, the more power it gives you in understanding them and not in breaking them down so they don't seem as complex as they once did. But a lot it is exhausting, Dame. It is exhausting. You're 100% right. And, everybody is entitled to feel, yeah, we'll be talking about that. Don't worry about it. I got you guys. I got you. You think I was going to miss that? You think I wasn't going to show you the SNL cold opening? They posted it, so I'm hoping that it's all right copyright-wise. It's just a 3-minute clip that they posted, but I'll definitely be showing you guys that. There's also, I don't know how much this is going to appeal to you guys, but it certainly kind of hit a string with me. Let me see if I can pull this up. This is a video by a golfer that I typically watch on YouTube, and he is in Ukraine, and he's speaking about golf's powerful role in Ukraine, and it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that the connections and people in Ukraine are, being rehabbed, right? Like injured soldiers are now getting onto the golf course with prosthetics and trying to, use the driving range or use golf as an outlet, as an escape from the horrors that they were facing. So to try to kind of, bring two things that I love together, I thought that would be good if we had the time to take a look at that. I know that's not going to be the main focus, and we have a ton of other things to get to. But if we have the time, I think that would be something cool to dive into a few minutes of, to highlight again the what these soldiers went through and what they're using now to kind of try to rehabilitate themselves into civilian life again, right? And then we'll be talking about this asshole, which is, I'm kind of happy he did this video, Tim Pool here, because it gives us a chance to talk about something we haven't brought up on the show yet, which is the Riyadh Comedy Festival that took place. The Saudi Arabian comedy festival for the people brought, the 9/11 people that also chopped up Jamal Khashoggi. So not only does Tim kind of excuse and say he doesn't care about the comedians going over there, but he's actually more upset with Dave Chappelle criticizing free speech in America than he is with any of these comedians taking millions of dollars of blood money to go over to, Saudi Arabia and perform and agree not to make fun of, a lot of different things, basically self-censoring themselves. I'm very disappointed with Bill Burr. I mean, I don't know how anybody couldn't be disappointed with Bill Burr. He's shown, over the last few months, he's really kind of come to the forefront in terms of the fight against the oligarchy, in terms of the fight against billionaires and the wealthy class, which is ironic considering his net worth. But, he really seemed to kind of get where the people of this country were, in their frustrations with, the rise in wages for CEOs, while the stagnant wages for the actual working class remain the same, and, everything gets more expensive. Like, we thought he was kind of, in touch with reality, in touch with what was going on in today's society. But apparently that's just been all bullshit. Apparently that none of that matters to him. He actually really has no actual principles to speak of, because if he actually did, he absolutely wouldn't take the Saudi blood money that he definitely doesn't fucking need in order to perform an hour or two for, the Saudis and kind of, just blow up his reputation. Everything he's kind of stood for and gained over the last few months with the working class, with people online saying, he kind of speaks for me in a certain way, has kind of been thrown away, right? So I'm kind of excited to dive into that one. And then this is, I don't know if we call this the main event or whatnot, but, again, I'm not sure how much of this we'll get through, but can you imagine two more disgusting and dishonest people? This is Matt Gaetz, ladies and gentlemen. And do you remember the other day when I showed the video of two Americans reporting for RT, Russia Today, the Russian propaganda network? One was in Moscow and one was in Novgorod, I believe. Well, this is that asshole. So now, not only has he come back from Russia from spewing his ridiculous bullshit about the Ukrainians being responsible for a genocide in the Donbass, which is just utterly ridiculous to even have leave your mouth, to even suggest that is just ridiculous. But somehow he's made his way back from Russia and directly onto the set of OAN and Matt Gaetz. And I believe it was, I think it was Preston Stewart that also had a video talking about these two Americans and, how they're being used as propaganda tools and the outright and blatant lies they were telling. So, I don't know how much we'll actually get through, but I feel like it would be kind of interesting to figure out and to see what these two assholes are talking about. And again, to further debunk any of the Russian propaganda, the Kremlin talking points coming from, I don't know what his name is, Pearson Sharp is his name. And again, sitting down with one of the more unscrupulous characters that has ever faced, ever fucking spent time in the United States, in the United States government. And then we got to this one as well. We got a lot to cover. I know I'm kind of taking a lot to go over it, but this is a video. Putin goes ballistic, targets Trump as U.S. mulls Tomahawk missiles for Kyiv. What did I say last show? It's only going to be a matter of time before Putin calls this an escalation, right? It's only going to be a matter of time before you see Lavrov come out and call this an escalation. And I was 100% right, not to, give myself too much credit and pat myself too hard on the back where I break my arm, but it was pretty much, it's a predictable routine at this point, where anytime the United States announces any more support or, more ammunition or different weapon systems to help the people of Ukraine, it's inevitably looked at as, a crossing of the red line of another escalation that is going to directly lead to nuclear weapons and warfare and stuff like that. So we got a short clip to look at here. This is something that I definitely think that we need to kind of talk about and pay attention to, right? Because the Patriot missile system is far too expensive and far too important to not only the national security of Ukraine, but the national security of the United States and bases all over the world. To have its fucking success rate knocked down to 6% because of some Russian missile upgrades, right? Now, from the little that I've read, because I want to go over this with you, it seemingly is just simple enough where you can make these Kinzhal missiles do just kind of one simple evasive maneuver at the end of their trajectory, and that kind of really makes the Patriot missile struggle to lock on and to gain its its tracking system, to use the geometry and the mathematics needed to calculate where that ballistic missile is going to be in a certain amount of time after you shoot, from the time it takes for your Patriot missile to get to that point. Like, you got to understand how fast these ballistic missiles are going and how difficult, understandably and admittedly, it is to shoot these things down. But when it goes from 37% kill rate to 6% in about a month and a half, 2 months, then we really need to figure out some countermeasures, some way to counter whatever advancements the Russians have figured out in order to evade the Patriot missile systems, which again are so important to the survival of not only the Ukrainian people, but also, like I said, the people around the world that also depend on these. I know there was several airports in Europe that I flew into that had Patriot missile systems lining the runway and encircling the airport. Funny enough, well, not funny enough, but strange enough, it's I'm pretty sure that every single airport and every single train station in Europe that I went to when I went to Ukraine has now been shut down for one reason or another, those reasons being either Russian drones or Russian aircraft, which is crazy. Let me see if I can pull this up. I thought I had... Yeah, this is another one talking about the operational command. Yeah, let me pull this up, put this on the screen. So this is just a new one. This was the operational command of the Polish Armed Forces states that Polish and Allied aircraft have been scrambled due to the activity of Russian long-range aviation and one-way attack drones in the airspace over Ukraine, adding that the fighter jets are intensively operating in Polish airspace while ground-based air defense and radar reconnaissance systems have reached their highest state of readiness across Poland, and that was from October 4th. Right, so the escalations, the little pokes and prods by the Russian military continue, unfortunately. But let's see if we can break into our first story. I feel like I've, tried to catch you up on everything that we're seeing a lot. I want to start with this right here, if you don't mind. Throw this up on the screen for you guys. This is just footage. And again, I just kind of want to show this to you to, again, highlight the targets that the Russian military are hitting with what we know about the targets that the Ukrainian military is hitting and has been hitting since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, right? They are not attacking apartment buildings. They are not attacking hospitals. They are not attacking schools. They are not attacking civilian trains, right? They are going after military targets. They are going after military bases, the oil refining capabilities that leads to and fuels the Russian military. All right, so this is just, and I'll play this. There's actually footage of the train being struck with, I believe it was a Shahed. But let's see if I can play this. It's just, again, a further example of the carelessness of the Russian military and how they'll just strike, again, civilian infrastructure at will while saying that it's the Ukrainians that are escalating the war. Hold on, let me see if I turn this up. Oh, this might not have any sound. But clearly you can see, and this is really scary to see, considering, I also took the train from Kyiv to Lviv, right? A lot of people have been posting their time on the train, and it's crazy to think that at any moment the Russians could have targeted that for whatever reason, not being any militarily strategic reason. I've heard some bullshit about, the Russians now believing that they were using civilian transports to bring ammunition or to transport this or that, which is fucking hogwash and bullshit, right? And there's also this that I wanted to show you as well. I'll start it over for you guys. This is the actual video of the strike, and if you look up in this area right here, you can actually see the Shahed go in and strike the train. So check this out. And you can tell because the train was already smoking before that, this wasn't the first strike. So this was either the second, or there were either even more strikes on this train. So it wasn't a mistake, right? This wasn't like a one-off, the drone got lost, the fucking guidance system on it malfunctioned, or this or that, or the fucking, the drone operator was drunk off of Russian vodka, didn't know what he was doing. There's no way for you to even bring that up as an excuse when we can see here very clearly that the train is already on fire, already has been struck before the second one dives in. So you got that, and then I think there was one more. I don't know if it was a picture of a photo. Yeah, there's a closer up. Here's a closer photo of some of the damage there. And just seeing the stones here, the pavers here, brings back a shitload of memories. And then, but there's also this that we talk about overnight. I'll bring this up, see if I can make this a little bigger for you guys. Is that a little better? Overnight, Russia once again targeted Ukraine's civilian population. In Balaklia, 15 people were wounded, including a 4-year-old girl. In Odessa, a strike on the Yurzalizhnatsia railway depot injured a train driver. In Konotop, attacks on railway infrastructure disrupted passenger routes. This is not a war against soldiers. It is a war against children, against workers, against the fabric of daily life. Ukraine must be armed with stronger air defenses, and Russia must face justice for every act of terror. And as you can see, just more, you can see the train was actually thrown so far off the tracks. It actually looks like it landed halfway inside of the fucking building, just adjacent to the tracks. And this is, footage of another apartment building being targeted by the Russian military. So the evidence is clear to suggest that these two militaries are not fighting the same type of war. They're not fighting with the same tactics, right? And anybody that compares the two or says that the two are in any way alike either has no fucking idea what they're talking about, or their head is so far up their ass that they can fucking sniff their eyelids, right? So let me see if I can put this on here, because a little bit of good news, I don't want to drown you guys in bad news and negative things, but oh shit, I didn't even at the beginning. There's so much that I have to talk about. There's so much going on that I try to cram so much in the show that I inevitably leave so much out. We'll also be talking about the recent developments, in case anybody's watching that is curious about the recent developments in Gaza. Trump actually, I believe, calling Netanyahu fucking negative, if I'm quoting that directly. And there's updates about how Bibi Netanyahu is not actively accepting what is being reported as Hamas agreeing to release all the hostages, but also saying that they do not want Israel or the IDF to remain in the area afterwards. So obviously some points of contention still, but it looks like some ground has been made. But right off the bat, Benjamin Netanyahu is doing his best to try to muddy the waters, to try to make it look like this isn't a success, a step in the right direction. You can see how he just wants to continue this war in perpetuity. But I forgot to mention that in the cold opening, so my apologies. I just wanted to make sure you guys weren't thinking I was forgetting that. But yes, this is one of Russia's top 2 refineries. It says 6.4 of their country's total refining capabilities. And Russia was also reporting that the drones were shot down. So check that out. And again, I just love when a Russian is more than happy enough to videotape the demise of his oil refinery in his area and post that online for us to view. So we'll watch that cook off for a little bit. And then there was this that I wanted to bring you in on as well, where Ukraine confirms drone strike on on Russia's biggest, most modern oil refineries near St. Pete. Of course, we've been talking about the gas shortages. Now Russia having to, import more from Asia to try to make up for the difference. The gas station closings, the long lines, the incredibly high prices, if they have gas at all. And again, this just goes to show and goes to prove how effective the Ukrainian military can be in evading Russian air defenses when given the correct weaponry, when being allowed to strike these targets at will, right? Just imagine if they had the ammunition, the resources enough where they didn't even have to think about, okay, where are we sending one or two of these? Let's try to spread these out because we don't have to. What if they could just fucking start lobbing these things at will, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 at a time to every single one of Russia's oil refineries? Just think of the damage, right? Just think of how quickly we could possibly bring Russia to its knees if they were given the appropriate fucking weaponry, the appropriate amount of weaponry, right? So this goes on to say, and I know this is kind of small. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. A little better. Ukrainian drone struck an oil refinery in Kirishi. I believe that was the one we were just taking a look at in Russia's Leningrad region overnight, October 4th, sparking a fire that was later extinguished. Ukraine's general staff said eyewitnesses report seeing the fire break out at the Kirishi refinery. Regional Governor Alexander Drozhenko confirmed the drone attack and fire, but did not identify the facility, adding that the fire had been extinguished. Air defense forces destroyed 7 UAVs in the skies over Kirishi. The fire in the industrial zone has been extinguished, Drozhenko wrote on Telegram. Videos and photos published by Astra, an independent Russian news channel, appeared to show a large explosion in flames rising from the refinery. The strike was later confirmed by the general staff in a post on social media. The Kyiv Independent could not verify the reports, but the refinery, more than 800 kilometers, 500 miles from Ukraine's border, is one of the largest and was opened in 2017 and accounts for 6.6% of Russia's total oil refining volumes, which is massive. So this refinery processes 17.7 million metric tons per year. Again, 355,000 barrels a day, represents 6.4 of Russia's total refining capacities. So again, it's amazing the damage that they've been able to do, and it's incredible the damage that they could possibly still continue to do, right? If we were to increase the support, increase the intelligence, right? Which have all been good things talked about lately, but we just whether or not we're actually seeing them be put in place is a whole. It's a horse of a different color. So I'd like to see those policies be implemented as soon as humanly possible, right? But that brings us to this story, ladies and gentlemen. This I just buckle up for this one. Buckle the fuck up for this one, okay? Because this is remarkable. This is remarkable to me. We continuously use the words incompetent and fucking deranged and corrupt and moronic and stupid to describe Donald Trump, his regime, everybody that surrounds him. But it's rare that we actually get an example this blatant to show us just how stupid, ignorant, and naive they are, but just how smart and brilliant they think they are. So this is a story that I saw here, and this was talked about a little bit, but I believe now they've done more kind of digging and confirmation on just who this woman was. So this is a post that says, yes, the Russian agent was the interpreter for Witkoff, talking about Steve Witkoff at his meeting in Moscow with Vladimir Putin. It says, a few months ago, I published a post saying that something felt off. Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, didn't have his own translator with him and seemed to rely on an unknown interpreter provided to him in Russia, which is just asinine. Just the most ridiculous thing you could possibly think of, considering just how important it is when each word comes across, when each motion, when every move that you make, the body language, how you say it, how forcefully you say it, or how you kind of shrink in your seat when you say something. Like, all of these cues are picked up on by not only the individual leaders, but also their staff and teams as well. Right. So it is extremely important that you have an interpreter that you can trust that will accurately, kind of relay what is being said in the way that it needs to be relayed to give you the most accurate depiction of the attitude, the rhetoric, and what is being said by the person that, being said in a language that you don't understand and comprehend, correct? Like, that makes sense to everybody? Like, that's not something that's far-fetched. Like, it's very important when you don't speak the language of somebody that the interpreter that you're getting the words from gives it to you exactly how it was said, word for word, so you don't make assumptions or make false, come to false conclusions based upon what the interpreter is relaying to you, right? So we're all on the same page as far as that's concerned. Makes sense for you to bring your own American interpreter that has, been had background checks, has been fucking fully vetted by the State Department and whatever other agencies need to vet these people, right? So it just makes sense, right? Okay, so we go on. She goes on to say that this is not what you do in high-level negotiations. You don't rely on somebody providing you the translator, as the translator is a, quote, mission-critical resource. Even the New York Post, allegedly Trump's favorite news outlet, featured my original post here. According to this person here, here's what really happened. Steve Witkoff did use a translator provided upon arrival, an individual who turned out to be a Russian spy. A strategic and significant mistake to make going into such negotiations, either incompetence or completely trusting the other party, not good in any way. And there's a short video here that I'd like to watch, if I may, kind of giving us the rundown and a little bit more information on who this Russian spy was and how absolutely fucking ludicrous it was for them not to A, know who this woman was already, but B, be prepared with their own interpreter, or C, accept an interpreter from fucking Russia, in Russia. Like, it's just, may not sound crazy to a lot of people that don't kind of not know the ins and outs, but, may not be privy to how important these kind of situations are, right? And how important it is that you get this information relayed properly back to the, the critical people. So let's dive into this one. Please hit that like button, share this stream out so we can show everybody just how stupid and dangerous this administration is. Because when people hear that Steve Witkoff in a meeting with Vladimir Putin in Moscow used a Russian fucking spy as his interpreter, I think it might invoke some sort of, I don't know, like, okay, these people are absolutely incompetent, dangerous, and should not be in power whatsoever. So check this out. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Can you believe that the American government used a Russian asset, a Russian agent, as an interpreter for a high-stakes negotiation about ending the Ukraine war? It sounds crazy, but it happened. At the end of April, Steve Witkoff traveled to Moscow to meet with Putin for the 4th time this year. Now, he chose to go alone. He entered the room at the Kremlin where Putin...
Right off the bat, how are you are you that overconfident? Do you have that much confidence, or are you that worried about anybody else hearing what is going to be said in this meeting? Like, I can't think of many reasons why, Steve Witkoff, such a high-ranking member of this fucking corrupt administration, would waltz into this meeting with Vladimir Putin, an ex-KGB, somebody that has been around world leaders and knows how to manipulate people far smarter, far more accomplished, and far more competent than Steve Witkoff. And he waltzes into this meeting by himself? Like, what do we... Rappers go around and fucking Hollywood stars go around with entourages, right? Not to mention the, the Russian dignitaries, pick a country and see how their fucking government travels. And I guarantee they're not sending too many people into meetings by themselves. I hope I can impress upon you just how crazy that is, right? But it gets crazier. It gets crazier.
And 2 of his advisors were present. And there was only one other person sitting on the other side of the table. It was a woman. Witkoff turned to her, pointed at her, and said, "Interpreter?"
Witkoff! So right off the bat, nobody says anything to him as far, taking this video's word for it, and from what I've seen of this meeting, nobody said anything to him about this being his interpreter, right? He goes to sit down, and to the Russian spy, Steve Witkoff says, "Interpreter?" And she's probably like, "Oh, yeah, yep, that's me. Yeah, I'll interpret the shit out of this one. Yeah. Listen, fucking nuts."
She said, "Mm-hmm."
Yeah, I'll play it again.
There was alone. He entered the room at the Kremlin where Putin and 2 of his advisors were present. And there was only one other person sitting on the other side of the table. It was a woman. Witkoff turned to her, pointed at her, and said, "Interpreter?" She said, "Mm-hmm."
Yep, she was like, "I sure the fuck am." Can't wait to try to translate. Like, it's unbelievable. So she could be giving him, false statements. She could be spitting out shit that he would have absolutely no idea that she was lying straight to his face. Not only that, but for Steve Witkoff, the special envoy, to not know and recognize this woman, to not have the intelligence to know that, okay, these are some people that you want to be looking out for. We have seen her in photos with Putin. We have seen her as Lavrov's interpreter. We have seen her at jobs at the UN, which are jobs typically associated with Russian spies, right? Not typically associated with people that are interpreters, right? So to know her background, and it's crazy to me that they are not more aware of their surroundings in these situations.
He followed with the question from the embassy. Okay. Now,
He's asking her, interpreter from the embassy, and all she's got to do is say, yep, twice. And he's like, all right, I got my interpreter.
Stop here for a second. The only thing that makes sense here is that he probably thought this was a woman sent by the American embassy as an interpreter. There's one problem with that. The woman that he assumed was his interpreter is not just a Russian government interpreter. We can see her next to important Russian figures such as Lavrov. Medvedev,
so here she is interpreting for Lavrov.
Putin
Dmitry Medvedev.
Himself.
Vladimir Putin himself.
Different years.
All in photos, all in videos. So wouldn't be very difficult for the CIA or the State Department to be like, okay, hey, these are some people you want to look out for. These are the people that, you may be introduced to as, good people, but you want to make sure that you don't, divulge any information or say anything secretive around these people, right? Or give it's like geopolitics. It is how to go into a Kremlin meeting, how to go into Moscow 101. Like, this is the fucking first shit that you should learn. How to handle yourself so you don't look like an asshole. How to handle yourself so Vladimir Putin doesn't, so you don't show weakness to Vladimir Putin or stupidity or incompetence that he could fucking pounce on, because he absolutely will.
She also served as Russia's representative and second secretary to the mission to NATO in Brussels.
Okay, so you hear that? He said second, but in the kind of asterisk, he put third. So she was the third secretary to Brussels for NATO from Russia, right? Which, again, listen to what he says here.
Also served as an advisor to the Russian delegation to the OPCW.
Advisor to the Russian delegation to the OPCW.
The Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons in The Hague. Now, neither of these are pure interpreter jobs. They're much more compatible with being a Russian spy.
Okay, so don't you think that our State Department, our CIA, our fucking special envoy should be privy to this information? Should be like, okay, like, we have a long list of spies that are probably going to try to, interdict themselves into these negotiations and kind of, get an arm up on us or a leg up on us, so to speak. And you need to be ready for this, right? Fucking unreal.
Not surprisingly, we see her here.
Here's another photo, right? So it's not like somebody that's behind the scenes. There's no photos of her, right? Like, it's not like you should be able to be, he should be waltzing there and be like, okay, I recognize her from the briefings that I've received from the State Department. I recognize her from the photos, from the film that I've watched with Medvedev, with Lavrov, with Putin. Like, to think that she's an American fucking interpreter from the U.S. Embassy, and she's actually a Russian spy with all this prominence who's been next to Putin, Medvedev, Lavrov, and Witkoff has no clue.
Right behind the head of Russia's spy agency, Naryshkin.
She's pictured behind the head of the Russian spy agency, this asshole Naryshkin. Like, nobody gets proximity to people like this in Russia if you don't have an important
the head of
position,
Russia's
right?
spy agency, Naryshkin. Now, Yulia, that's her real name, interpreted for Witkoff over the course of that meeting. The problem with that is this was not just dinner chit-chat. This was a serious negotiation where the stake was the lives of hundreds and maybe millions of people. An interpreter can influence the negotiation. I worked as an interpreter. I know that every word that you say, the way you say it, the sentiment, and the way you look even at the client can convey a message. Now,
that's what I tried to say, right? That's even in the meeting with Putin and Trump in Alaska. The meeting with Zelensky and Trump at the White, like, there are definitely little cues that were picked up on and are picked up on at every single one of these meetings, not only by the media, not only by us, the fucking commentators, but by the dignitaries themselves, by the envoys themselves, by the delegations themselves. that lead them to, either draw conclusions or go home and draw up other plans based on what they saw or what they were able to get over on Witkoff. Like, now we know we can at least push this far. So, okay, we know he's a moron. We know we can get the upper hand on him. So let's keep him around so that we can, use him as a fucking useful idiot, just like we do Donald Trump. So you can see how the tactics of the Russians are like, okay, we're testing the waters. Let's see who's an idiot. Let's see who knows what, how to handle themselves, who's going to divulge information. And let's keep those morons around, right? Let's keep them around because they seem to be ones that we can fucking manipulate and we can mold however we want. I mean, this shit's crazy. This shit is crazy. A Russian spy was the interpreter for the fucking special envoy of the United States at a meeting in Moscow with the Russian president, Vladimir Putin. Huh?
Having a spy for the other side serving as your interpreter is inherently dangerous. And the fact that you accept that signals to the other side that you're at the very least incompetent and at the very worst, a very easy target for deception. And this, unfortunately, happened at the end of April in Moscow. Now, as my friend and colleague from the Spiegel, Fidelis Schmidt, joked, if she really was from the American embassy, the Americans have assets all over the place.
You can almost see how closely Putin was watching that conversation, because at the same time, Steve Witkoff on the opposite side of the table is saying, are you the interpreter? Are you from the embassy? Watch how closely Putin is kind of paying attention to that conversation. Watch how he's kind of looking across the table as he's sitting down.
Schmidt joked, if she really was from the American embassy.
Right? So he's looking at her. First he opened up, he was looking at her. Now he's looking at Witkoff, looking back at her, looking back at Witkoff, looking back at her. Like he was very enthralled in what was going on, and he looked pretty pleased at the way the conversation was going. Right? He was like, "Holy shit! Did he just ask my own Russian spy if she was the American interpreter from the fucking U.S. embassy? Like, this is great. These people are fucking stupid."
Americans have assets all over the place, and they're going places. Unfortunately, that was only a joke. She was an asset, but not an American one. Like and subscribe for more of these videos.
And then you can see her here. Let's see.
Have assets all over the place.
Right. So there's Medvedev, and there's her behind him. Right. So again, not somebody that is like behind the scenes, not somebody that hasn't had her fucking picture taken, not somebody that shouldn't be on the radar of the State Department. Again, the CIA, whoever is in charge of fucking, alerting our representatives, the people fucking speaking on behalf of our country, who's who and what dangers they should kind of stay away from. But I thought this was an amazing representation of the incompetency, of the ignorance, of the fucking overwhelming feeling of like they're an alpha male, so they can do whatever they want and everything. Donald Trump's the best negotiator, so he must hire the best negotiators, and they don't need anybody to go over there with them. And that's what happens. They end up getting fed a Russian friggin' interpreter at one of the more important meetings that had that is talking about the security and safety of millions and millions and millions of fucking people, right? So it's unbelievable to me. I thought I'd bring you that and kind of give you a little bit more update, and just it goes to show you goes a long way in showing to anybody that's kind of up to hip on what happens at these fucking meetings. How fucking incompetent and stupid a move like that is, and how dangerous a move like that is, and how much the Russians love seeing shit like that, right? All right, so speaking of Russians and shit they love to see, here's a not great story that I just wanted to touch on a little bit. We're not going to dwell too much on this because there's not too much to dwell on at this point until there are countermeasures. Either it'd be very smart of the United States military to be already on the ball, already being actively engaged in testing to figure out how we can, again, counteract these new measures taken by the Kinzhal missile to evade the Patriot missile defense systems. So if I can, I'll zoom in just a little bit. I just want to read a paragraph or two of this because, again, as this says here, to go from 37% effectiveness to 6% is a huge drop. I mean, 37% isn't even something to shake a stick at. But again, we're talking about ballistic missiles. It's incredibly incredibly difficult to shoot down. It's incredibly technologically advanced. weaponry systems, and it's not easy to do. But still, anytime anything that is that expensive only has an effective rate of 6% is a problem, and we need to talk about it because Russia has successfully upgraded its ballistic missiles to evade the U.S.-made Patriot air defense systems operated by Ukraine, causing a sharp decline in interception rates, the Financial Times reported, citing an analysis by CIR, a London-based war data and war crimes analysis organization. The FT stated that Russia's missile software upgrades were implemented on two types of missiles: the Iskander-M, launched from mobile trucks, and the KH-47M2 Kinzhal, air-launched from MiG-31 aircraft. The Iskander-M has a range of 500 kilometers, while the Kinzhal has a range of 480. Right, here's the Kinzhal being launched by the MiG, and here's the ground-launched Iskander missile, right? So the Ukrainian official representatives from U.S. defense contractors manufacturing these weapons and Western military experts revealed that Russia recently upgraded both missiles to deviate from typical ballistic trajectories, performing sharp final descents or execute evasive maneuvers in the final phase to confuse the Patriot system, making interceptions more difficult. A Ukrainian official with a bureaucratic background stated, "This upgrade is a game changer for Russia." Now, I will raise my right hand and say that I was wrong, because I believe on the last show we kind of reported something to this effect, but I honestly did not believe that the Russians were capable, especially at this moment in time, of coming up with such an effective countermeasure to the Patriots. So I will absolutely raise my hand and say that I was wrong. I will correct myself where I need to be corrected. I have no problem doing so. But this is something that we need to fucking take a look at, not only, again, for the security and safety of the Ukrainian people, but also everywhere else that the Patriot missile systems are used to keep human beings, troops, and civilians safe, right? So it says the Patriot missile system interception rate plummeted in recent months from 37% in August to 6% in September. That's fucking wild. The Patriot air defense system is a core component of Ukraine's multi-layered national defense structure, protecting major cities like Kyiv and military bases from large-scale hybrid attacks involving Russian ballistic missiles, glide bombs, and drones. Here is, and this is in the Chosen. I think this was an original story from either the Telegraph or the New York Times, but obviously both of those, I think, are behind a paywall, so I had to get somebody reporting on the reports. Unfortunately, this was the Chosen Daily, so I believe this is Korean. But you can see the sharp decline here. I mean, this is, you don't need to be fluent in all languages to see this sharp decline that we've seen here, right? So, and there's actually, just to kind of show you, let's see, there was a recent video to come out, probably the best one that I've seen, showing what a ballistic missile looks like entering. I think it's this one right here. And this will just show you, right? Just give you a little representation, a little example of how fucking almost impossible, right, it seemingly is to shoot these things down. Here, I'll get out of the way so you can see the whole thing. This is just a video of one of the ballistic missiles. Check this out. Watching this area. Watching this area. There's one. There's one. And here you go, right here. Check this pot out. Look at that, dude. You see that shit? Watch that come in. I mean, how the fuck are you stopping that? Right, so again, just kind of gives you an idea of just how difficult it is to shoot these things down. But, you know, again, it's absolutely something that we need a success rate of over 6% at, especially when we're up around 37 to 40% here. But again, there are a multitude of people in positions and bases and stuff that rely or will rely in the case of emergency on the Patriot air defense missile systems. And if we don't, and again, if other countries start, gaining knowledge of how the Russians implemented their changes in order to, again, get around. And it sounds like they just kind of figured out that if you get them to dive either in a strange maneuver at the, in the just before impact, like it kind of throws off the calculations by the Patriots systems, and it kind of confuses them, and it doesn't give them the time or allow them to accurately calculate where that missile is going to be and where they need to shoot their own missiles in order to intercept it. But again, if anybody else gets their hands on this information, and this spreads to again other enemies throughout the region, throughout the world, then we got a fucking serious problem on our hands, and we need to be on this as soon as possible, coming out with the correct and appropriate countermeasures to the advancements here. The Ukrainian Air Force announced on the first that all 4 Iskander-M missiles launched by Russia hit their targets within Ukraine, which is never good. Additionally, on August 28, 2 Russian missiles struck a Turkish-made Bayraktar drone manufacturing plant in Kyiv. Last summer, Russian missiles severely damaged 4 drone manufacturing plants in Kyiv, protected by the Patriot system. A report by the U.S. intelligence agency covering April 1st to June 30th noted that Ukraine's military faced difficulties defending against Russian ballistic missiles using the Patriot system due to tactical upgrades by Russia. These upgrades include missiles deviating from expected ballistic trajectories and performing evasive maneuvers to alter their paths. Ballistic missile trajectories are typically predicted based on launch angles, velocity, and the influence of gravity and air resistance, all things calculated by the different systems on the Patriot air defense missiles, right? So when they calculate the launch angle, the velocity, the air resistance, the gravity, like it can do an accurate calculation of where it needs to intercept that fucking ballistic missile. But when the path or the trajectory changes, like randomly or at the end of the cycle, just before the Patriot is about to be launched, then it throws off the calculations. It throws off the ability for the system to, for lack of a better term, lock on, right? To get a good lock on the missile to make sure that it can, at least to the best of its capabilities, calculate where it needs to be. So it seems like they have figured out that just performing simple, I don't know about simple, but evasive maneuvers to alter their path is enough to, again, throw the accuracy off of the Patriot systems from down to 37% success rate to 6% in September, which I cannot tell you how, the cost per, effectiveness ratio, how horrible that is, right? With how much we need to spend on the systems, with how much each of these fucking, each of the pieces of ammunition cost, with the 6% success rate, it's not adding up. So something needs to be done, right? So among Russia's key ballistic missiles, the Kinzhal is known as hypersonic missile traveling at 10 times the speed of sound, while the Iskander-M is already well known for performing evasive maneuvers during ascent and terminal phases. However, Ukraine successfully intercepted the hypersonic Kinzhal for the first time in May 2023 using the Patriot system and has since intercepted more than 15 Kinzhal missiles. Ukraine is also known to have partially intercepted Iskander-M missiles. However, Russia enhanced the terminal phase with evasive maneuver capabilities of both the Kinzhal and the Iskander-M missiles, causing the Patriots' interception rate to drop sharply. For instance, only 1 of 7 ballistic missiles launched by Russia on June 28th was intercepted. During an air raid on Kyiv on July 9th, only 7 of 13 missiles were intercepted. Western militaries experts compare the relationship between missiles and interception systems to a cat and mouse game. I think that's the exact term that I used last show. I mean, when you're talking about warfare, this is the game that is played in every combat, in every conflict, in every battle since fucking man was put on this earth. It's okay, they've come up with a way to, get an upper hand on us. How can we figure out how to counteract that upper hand? Let's come up with our own weapon systems, our own advancements in technology. And then it's on the enemy, it's on the people defending to combat and to counteract that latest advancement in warfare, in weaponry, right? So it just kind of everybody keeps trying to one up themselves in this cat and mouse game. And right now we seem to be on the mouse end of the Patriot missile systems, again, at least as far as their effective rate is concerned over the last couple months, and the upgrades that Russia has figured out how to attach onto their ballistic missiles in order to evade these systems. So again, let's see here if it says that I'm just curious if the United States military or the United States government has already deployed a team in order to investigate, in order to run tests, in order to figure out how we could counteract this. Because again, this is not just something that is a Ukraine problem, right? There are weapon systems that are used elsewhere throughout the world. So it would be very smart and prudent upon the United States government and military to be fucking as quick as possible to react to this latest advancement, so that we can, further protect, keep our troops protected, our bases protected, and our allies protected, right? But I'm not seeing anything. I did see something about Raytheon. Let's see. The Ukrainian government shares interception data from the Patriot missile with the U.S. Department of Defense. Raytheon, Patriot missiles manufacturer, Lockheed Martin, the interceptor missile manufacturer, to update the interception system in response to Russia's ballistic missile upgrades. However, a military expert noted that these countermeasures often fail to keep pace with Russia's tactical changes. Fabian Hoffman, a missile researcher at the University of Oslo, told the FT, while missile and interceptor manufacturers typically analyze interception data to improve performance, Russia's Iskander-M can be programmed through guidance systems adjustments to perform rapid maneuvers and steep dives just before impact rather than acquiring costly hardware. So again, that's just a little bit of how they've managed. And I do believe there was, if I'm not mistaken, let me see here. I thought that video that I was showing you earlier of the ballistic missiles had actually a better view of some of them coming in. That kind of gave you a better idea of how fast these things are actually moving. But I won't subject you to any more of that because we got a ton more to move on to. Again, let's see if we can move on to this, sticking with the Ukraine, Russia, Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump incompetency theme. We've heard a lot about this over the last few days, which is the proposal or the idea that United States would supply Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles. Which would be a huge improvement, a huge upgrade, not only in range capabilities, but also the amount of explosive payload that could be delivered to a target over an extended range. But, this remains to be seen. There was a Reuters report that said this is kind of looking unlikely. We've heard kind of counteractive things as far as what J.D. Vance is saying, what we're hearing being reported. But I told you that this was going to be thought of and seen as an escalation. Again, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm sure you guys knew that too. But just, another area in which this is easily predictable. So let's just see a little bit. I'm going to speed this up just a touch because we do have a few more clips to get into, and I'm kind of running out of time already. I'm going to do that 1.15. And let's just see a little bit of, let's see if we can get into a little bit of this. And again, a lot of people have been messaging me and being like, aren't Tomahawk ship-based? Isn't the Tomahawk a ship-based weapon system? Yes, you are right. It is a ship-based weapon system, but they have done, I don't know about extensive, but they have done ground launch testing in Ukraine, and I'm sure in other areas, to make sure and to test the capabilities and effectiveness of Tomahawks being launched on land and not just by the ship method. So just in case anybody is kind of curious as to how Ukraine would use what is widely known as a ship-based weapon system, they have done their own testing of launching the Tomahawks from land-based systems. So just to kind of fill everybody in. So I'm gonna I think they kind of play Zelensky here, yeah. What the hell? Where is this? I thought they played Putin's statements. Is this it right here? Let me see. Russian president has issued a fresh warning to Washington over new weapons to Ukraine. I don't understand why they do this. They play the clip, but they play music over the clip. Can't we just hear what he said? Yeah, I think it's right here.
As for Tomahawks, they're a powerful weapon. Granted, they're not exactly modern, but they're powerful and pose a threat. And of course, this won't change the balance of power on the battlefield. It won't change it at all. Can Tomahawks harm us? They can. We will shoot them down and improve our air defense systems. Will this damage our relations, which have begun to show some light at the end of the tunnel? Of course it will. But how could it be otherwise? Using Tomahawks without the direct participation of American military personnel is impossible. This would mark a completely new, qualitatively new stage of escalation,
There it is
including
right there. There it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's the new escalation, the new red line in the sand being drawn by Putin, right? Is the Tomahawk missile system again. And I don't know how, I don't know how incorrect he is about the fact that it would be almost impossible for the Ukrainians to have, full access and full control over the complete and full capabilities of the Tomahawk system without the direct involvement of at least some U.S. personnel, right? Like, they would be using our guidance systems. They would be using our satellites, our GPS, right? Like, that's why these things are so effective, is because they are also linked up with the capabilities of the United States military, with its targeting systems, with its, with its ability to survey and get satellite imagery of areas like those. All those things come together to make this an effective weapons platform. So I don't know the ins and outs of how, this hasn't even been approved yet or anything like that. So I think we're a little bit of ways away from finding out just how this would be implemented, as far as who controls what, how much of the United States military platforms are being, the Ukrainians are allowed to have access to or used to in order to make these weapon systems as effective as possible, right? So there's a lot of questions that still remain, but I'm not sure how incorrect he is in that statement, saying that, like, I don't know how possible this would be without at least some direct involvement from, the United States military, right?
relations between Russia and the United States.
And again, just the fact that Vladimir Putin, Sergei Lavrov, and other high-ranking military officials and government officials from Russia are speaking directly about this fucking, this possible trade, this possible weapon sales, the possible Tomahawk trade there. Just goes to show you how scared and nervous and how much it would actually change things on the battlefield, and it would harm Russia, even though, Putin's doing his best here to say that it wouldn't change anything and that, it wouldn't really harm. Like, just think of the how much we could exponentially increase the attacks on the oil refineries or, any of the military installations in and around Russia, with the accuracy and the payload of a Tomahawk missile. Again, much more than the Flamingo, which I believe is the Ukrainian-based weapons platform of a similar type, but it does not have the range as far as I'm concerned, and it definitely does not have the payload of the Tomahawk missile as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know. Yeah, I mean, he's 100% right too. Like, it's not like there would be a lot to go into this whole thing. Like, this wouldn't just be like, hey, ship them over and then have at it with them, right? They're expensive friggin' pieces of equipment that, need different other pieces of equipment in order to be at their most effective. But again, this is something that's just being kind of speculated on right now. So we're just kind of talk about how it would be implemented, how effective it would be, would it have the impact that we would hope if it were to go through, type of thing. But he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. It's especially with the new bullshit of us having to sell to Europe in order to have Europe give it to Ukraine. Like, it's another added layer of bureaucracy in this bullshit. I'm not sure. I think they have, let me see. I think they have a statement by Lavrov in here, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. That must have been. That must have been the other one there, but that was just kind of giving us a little information on, where we stand. And I just wanted to show you that, you're 100% right. Everybody in the chat that said this is going to be thought of as another, massive escalation by Vladimir Putin. And of course, as I said, having people like Lavrov and Putin speaking on this directly kind of gives you an idea, again, talking about how you look into very little, the smallest cues when talking about world leaders and dignitaries. So the people that are speaking on this will give you a good idea, give you a good example of how serious that the Russians are taking this. If it was lower level people and, ambassadors only speaking about it, that would kind of tell you that, maybe they weren't as worried about it. But where Lavrov and Putin are out here spilling their guts, saying that it wouldn't have any effect whatsoever, you can kind of get an idea. Everything that Russia says, just to actually think the opposite, and you're probably going to be spot on. All right. So let's bring in this, which is, I believe, I don't know. See, I'm kind of, I don't know how much of this I want to get through. You know what I mean? Because this interests me on fucking so many different levels, having an American spew Russian propaganda coming back and calling literally reality the opposite of reality, and now sitting down with fucking Matt Gaetz. Let's see if I can, I'm going to put the playback speed up just a little bit. And I might skip around to just a few parts here, but I want to get into, again, the lies, the propaganda, the Kremlin talking points from somehow this fucking American. Hi, buddy. I'm looking at a cute, chunky baby. Hi, buddy. Just 1 second. Hey, buddy. I missed you so much. I missed you so much. Can you say hi? 1 second. Yes. Very cool. Yes. I can't get him in. Hi, buddy. Yes. Oh my God, he's so chunky. Oh, my chunky monkey. Thank you. Oh, okay. I needed that. Hi, buddy. I'll see you later. I see you later. All right. Oh man. All right. Back at it. Oh, he's the best. He is the best ever. He is so chunky and cute and such a good boy. He's awesome. No, that is not my son, for Christ's sakes. Don't you think I would have fucking told you guys? Don't you think you'd know if I had a son? No, that is that's Mel's sister's son. He's amazing. He's great. All right. So good interruption. Thank you so much. I needed that. I really needed that. So let's see if we can dive into just a little bit of these morons. And again, I have a lot more to get through, so we're not going to get through a ton. We still have this, Tim Pool video talking about the Riyadh Comedy Festival, which, I'm dying to get my 2 cents out on as well. And then, hopefully we have enough time where I can dive into this golf's powerful role. And then we also have, I'm going to finish out with the SNL cold opening. Excuse me. I'm going to finish out with the SNL cold opening just to kind of make you guys stick around for the retention rate. All right. All right. Let's dive into this one. I appreciate you guys. Let's see if we can go here, see what these two assholes have to say. I don't care about his intro, so I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit.
The ground in places of great conflict and consternation.
Well, the biggest one outside of Russia would be, of course, Syria. And I went there in 2018.
Somebody just said, I need a loaner, baby. Oh, that's what I'm saying. The best babies are the ones you can give back at the end of the night. Just kidding. But that's funny, Laurie. That's funny. You got me on that one.
18 in April. And I went to Duma, it's a little suburb outside of Damascus. And that was right exactly when the chemical attacks had happened.
See, it should be a law that YouTube should have to break up all of these ridiculous interviews with these morons into different sections, like different chapters. Like, that's so helpful, because I don't care about what else he reported on. I wanted to hear about his propaganda. Let's see.
It was an international team, and there was a team that was working with some state agencies, but they were independent.
So the Russians knew you were there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep. Here we go. This is how he actually got his opportunity, how he actually got in to go to Russia to report for RT. Let's see what he says here. Oh, thank you, Suze. Oh, thank you, moms. I appreciate that. Happy Sunday to Mel and Logan. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that, moms. I really do. And thank you. Anybody else that is, kind enough and in the financial position to do so. There's Venmo up in the corner. You can become a channel member just underneath me. And there's also patreon.com/Boston Brian. Those are the best ways possible to help this channel. So thank you so much, moms. And thank you, everybody that has been so kind on YouTube as well to give a super chat. And congratulations on your milestones for your memberships. And again, anybody that's new to the show or is just watching for the first time, please, if you've donated, if you've given a super chat, stick around to the end. We highlight, we thank, we shout out every single person that's contributed to the show, every single show. So please make sure you stick around, just in case I missed it as it went by. Don't fret, I will appreciate you at the end.
That you were interested in this story, that you'd been following it. You get this invitation. Where do you show up?
I'm sorry. Why are we blowing by that point? Like,
who are you talking with?
How exactly do you get an invitation by the Russian government to go to Russia, to then go to Ukraine to report Russian propaganda for the Kremlin on Russia Today, to then be allowed to come back to the United States and continue spewing that propaganda? Like, can we not breeze by that part? Like, how do you just get contacted by the Russian government?
Following it, you get this invitation. Where do you show up? Who are you talking with? Who is helping to coordinate some of these interactions?
So there was an international team, and there was a team that was working with some state agencies, but they were independent.
So the Russians knew you were there?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
so
absolutely.
the Russians...
Yeah, they asked them to come there. That's the whole point.
They're aware you're there.
Yes.
They know you're there.
Well, you have to kind of get permission to go into some of these places.
Well, sure. I mean, the American government knows when a foreign journalist who isn't a citizen of the country comes here for the purpose of reporting. So,
but I never had any forward-facing interactions with government.
You know
officials.
what this whole thing reminds me of too? You know what this whole thing reminds me of? Have you ever seen, like, there's a ton of them on YouTube, like the people that go and say they're touring or visiting North Korea, right? But they're on these like state-sanctioned, like fucking, one place to another, can't stray off the beaten path. Like, if you even look in the wrong direction, your camera's going to be taken. You'll be thrown in jail. You're brought to these like huge, amazing buildings that have like these grand lobbies and entrances, but there's nobody's ever in there, right? The heat's never on. There's TVs and computers, but nobody's ever sitting at them, right? There's a water park there, but the people don't actually look like they're having fun. They don't look like they're there by their own fucking accord, or looks like they've actually been brought in from around the country and been forced to go into this water park and make it seem like they're having a good time for the sole purpose of these tourists. Like, have you ever seen any of them? Right. And these people are like, wow, I'm so, like, some of them, not all of them, to their credit. Some of them are like, oh man, I can't believe what I've been taught by the media around the world. Like, this is so much different. And like, I don't see any of the things that I've been taught. Like, yes, because you're on a very fucking guided, rehearsed, scripted tour, seeing only the things that this government wants you to see, right? Being brought to only places that they want you to fucking be brought to, so you can bring home exactly what you're bringing home now. Right. This is what this reminds me of. Like, oh, they were so nice to me. And, he'll be talking about like what it looks like on the streets of Moscow, and people don't know about the war, and like the shops are open. And it's like, this is the same shit. Like, you've been fucking brought on a propaganda tour like Tucker Carlson was, and you were so fucking dumb and ignorant that you were impressed by it and didn't dare to think, okay, what's going on outside of this tour? What's going on outside of these walls or outside of this city, right? Like, what are the real people of Russia experiencing? What are the real people of North Korea experiencing? Like, that's not at all what he was curious about. Like, he was brought on this fucking scripted propaganda tour by the Russian government, and he bought it hook, line, and fucking sinker.
It was never like, Ivan Ivanovsky of the state.
Which, by the way, is something I'm here to deeply criticize Russia over. Vladimir Putin, you should have allowed Pearson Sharp to interview you, and you were wrong for not granting Pearson his interview request. Lavrov, you're wrong about it. You're all...
And just to kind of refresh everybody's memory here, this one right here, this guy right here, let me see if I can pull this up, just to kind of give you a refreshing memory on who this is. So he's the guy on the left here, right? So the guy that's now talking to Matt Gaetz, the guy on the left here, now on RT, speaking to another American who's in Moscow, and he's in Novgorod, right? And he's trying to say that it was the Ukrainians that were perpetrating a genocide. Just unbelievable bullshit. So that's who we're kind of picking apart now, in case you're wondering who and, why we're listening to these fucking assholes.
Pearson's questions. But anyway, so you're there. What are some of the first scenes you're seeing, your first perspective on this place that the Western media has been telling you is crippled as a consequence of the war?
Well, we land in Moscow, and I mean, right away, the picture is different from what we've been told.
This is fucking word for word what you'll hear if you go type in trip to North Korea. Go on YouTube, type up trip to North Korea, fucking line for line what you hear from some of these morons that have gone there. Like, oh, it was so much. Look at how beautiful it is, and there's buildings and there's cars, and it's like, yeah, well, the fucking ain't nobody live in that building. That car is actually owned by, a police officer, and that's one of fucking 4 in the whole town, right? It's like, it's unbelievable. It's like no different than Tucker Carlson being like, look at the grocery stores in Moscow. It's like they got lights and bread and stuff. Like, what? Yeah, that one does. How about you travel 30, 40 miles outside of the city and show us the fucking grocery stores there?
And I saw this subsequent times throughout my entire trip. The idea was reinforced that the sanctions and the impact that they're supposedly having is not nearly what we've been led to believe.
And I don't think that anybody is under the illusion that, like, the shops are closed in Moscow, right? Or the shops are closed in St. Pete. I think it's been accurately reported that the economy is on the ropes and that they're struggling, but in no way has the economy, I believe, been reported to have outright just been fucking shut down, collapsed, or anything like that. And it is very important for the Russian government, propaganda-wise, to continuously have streets like this, in places like this, in Moscow, stay open, to stay lit, to give the illusion that everything is okay. So when, foreigners or, people that they bring in go and walk down this street, they're like, oh, the whole country must look like this, right? Lights are on, fucking shops are open. No. You've been, again, led down this road of a scripted, state-sponsored fucking propaganda tour that you're buying hook, line, and sinker.
Life over there seems almost idyllic until you get to right where the...
Life over there seems almost idyllic. Now, does he not see the fucking irony in that? You want to know why it might seem somewhat idyllic over there? Which is, again, a bunch of fucking hogwash bullshit nonsense. What he means is they're not living under the threat of missiles and drones. And that's because the Ukrainian military is attacking military fucking installations and targets, not civilian infrastructure, not malls, not hotels, not hospitals or schools or churches or courtrooms. That's why these fucking Russians feel the safety that they have walking down that fucking street, because they know Ukraine's not targeting the civilian fucking population of Russia. That's why. So maybe we should fucking, I don't know, take a second and think about the idyllic nature of the fucking Russians as they're, again, being fucking put in prison for 15 to 20 years for protesting or exercising, the free speech that they don't have over there.
Actual war zone is happening. But, the average Russian day, Dmitry Dmitriev over there is having a pretty good time most of the time.
And what do they do most of the day?
Dmitry Dmitriev is having a pretty good time most of the time. Now, does that sound like what we've been hearing from the Russian people? And again, you can go online and there's a multitude of different fucking interviews that you can look at from people both still inside Russia and people that have left that show you and can depict the struggles and the hardships, the difficulties seen, maybe not inside the more prominent cities, especially not inside the more prominent areas of the prominent cities, but sure as fuck, as soon as you step outside of those prominent areas, it starts going downhill very, very fast.
What do Russians do every day?
Yeah, I don't know. Are there malls? Are there movies?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there parks?
So one of my last night, there's parks.
Yeah, they get drunk.
One of my last days there, I just took a walk through Moscow, and I went through some of the bigger areas, some of the smaller areas, just try to get a cross section of it, and it was remarkable how normal everything was. There was no panicking. There was no
no panicking, because they're under no threat of fucking drones, missiles. Right, because the Ukrainians are not targeting civilian infrastructure. And again, this is no different than Tucker Carlson being like, look it, they have grocery stores. Look it, the lights are on. Yeah, well, guess what? I don't know. Is anybody actually in these stores buying shit? Can they afford it?
To hoard supplies. Everyone was out. There's nightlife. This was like a Monday night, I think, and people were out living it up. I mean, it was the most normal scene you could picture. Safe, clean, people were happy, having a good time. It looked like downtown New York.
Now tell me this isn't the most direct and obvious Russian propaganda, Kremlin bullshit that you've ever fucking heard in your life, right? Like, what do you hear about all of these dictatorial regimes and authoritarian? Like, the streets are clean, there's no crime. Well, there's a reason for that, because you've killed all the dissidents, right? You've threatened imprisonment of 20 years for people speaking out against the government, right? It's like, I don't know. I'd rather a couple fucking nappies on the ground and have my freedom and be able to actually pick it up, throw it away, and that sort of stuff than walk down the street not knowing when my freedom could be stripped from me at any given moment because of what I said now or a couple days ago or at this protest or that protest. But again, to say, oh, the lights are on and people are walking around, and that means that the sanctions are having no effect, even though this entire country is on a war economy, on a war footing.
Like, it was just such a stark contrast.
As you're watching that, does it feel like the war sits over the
That
culture?
guy didn't seem too happy to be filmed. Check this guy out. He didn't want to be on camera.
Stark
Watch
contrast.
this guy.
As you're watching that, does it feel like the war sits over the culture in any way?
Absolutely not. No, you don't get a sense that there's anything like a war
Do
happening.
people seem embattled?
No, it's very normal.
People seem
It's very normal. Besides when you walk by the graveyards of the 1.14 million soldiers that have either fucking had their legs, heads, or arms blown off, besides almost every single Russian citizen you talk to that has been in some way impacted by the loss of a daughter, a niece, an aunt, an uncle, a nephew, a fucking husband, a wife, in this conflict. Besides that, there's nothing that I can tell that these Russian people even know that the war is going on. Besides the fact that, again, they're fucking paying a shitload more. They can't get gas in a lot of areas. And again, their family members are being slaughtered by the thousands on a daily basis in the Russian meat grinder in Ukraine.
Scared?
No. And when you ask them about, how they feel about it, they're bothered that there's a war. They don't want to be fighting like anybody would, but the sanctions haven't impacted their lives.
So there's a theory I've seen.
Horseshit. You could probably get away with saying the sanctions have not impacted their lives to the extent and at the rate that we would like to have seen them done, right? I don't think there's any problem or, misconception or lies in that statement, right? I don't think there is. I think we'd all have liked to seen these sanctions put on sooner, and I think we all would have liked to seen these sanctions be a lot stronger and have more crippling effect on the Russian economy. But when you have an authoritarian dictatorial regime like that has isolated itself, it makes it that much more difficult, right? They have done a good job of isolating their economy and insulating their economy to make sure that they can last in this exact situation, right? So again, we can only go so far, but I would like to have seen us go to, again, the fucking most extremes right off the bat to get the most impact from these sanctions instead of fucking pussyfooting around and doing a little bit here, doing a little bit there, doing the oligarchs here and these businesses all at once, strip them all of all their fucking shit and use those funds and appropriate those funds to use to go towards ammunition, weaponry, aid for the people of Ukraine, medical equipment, vehicles, that sort of stuff. That's what I would have fucking done, right? But again, I don't think anybody can really say that we have not seen these sanctions have the impact that we would have liked to have them seen them have. But to say that they're having no impact whatsoever is just an absolutely fucking asinine statement. Not even being said by the Russian people themselves, who, again, are actively feeling the pinch, are actively feeling the war, whether it be through missiles or drones or loss of family or through their wallets.
That the sanctions regime actually was a form of economic nationalism that helped Russia. Like they had these oligarchs 100%. That were spilling 100%. Money all over the world. And when their yachts and townhouses and mansions were seized or under threat of seizure, they took the cash that they had and they brought it back to Russia and started developing.
That's precious. That is precious, Matt. That's cute. And a lot of the things I'm sure around you are cute, considering the age of females that you like to get involved with. You probably have a lot of cute teddy bears and shit around. But anyway, it's cute that you think that these Russian oligarchs chose. Like they volunteered their fucking wealth to be thrown back into the Russian economy, to be thrown at the war. It's very cute. It is. It's adorable. It is adorable that he thinks it was a choice that these oligarchs had, as opposed to Russia and Putin in the background saying, hey, that fucking, that money that I've been saying that I'm going to, in a time of need, I'm going to call upon. Well, guess what? It's now that time of need, and we're either going to take it from you. You're either going to send it my way or we'll take it from you while we push every single one of your family members off the roof of your house, right? So it's like it's really cute and adorable, and it is very, very flattering that he thinks that these Russian oligarchs had some sort of choice in the matter with whatever funds that they had left after these sanctions. It is cute. It's cute. It shows his ignorance and how much he doesn't know about these situations and about Russia in particular, but it is adorable.
Being vertical residential, they started making investments in Russian factories.
I'm sorry. Did he just say vertical residential as some like futuristic substitute for apartment complexes in Soviet fucking housing blocks? I'm sorry. Did he just
they took the cash that they had and they brought it back to Russia and started developing vertical residential. They started making
vertical resident. Yes, because as we know, never in the history of the Soviet Union have they actually built any like high-rise block apartment units, because that's just something that the Soviet Union never did. It's actually probably a new thought by the Russian oligarchs to think like, we should build up. See, fucking shit me. Oh.
Making investments in Russian factories and manufacturing.
So much renovation.
And so I'm sitting there thinking, did the sanctions against Russia have like a similar effect to Trump's tariffs?
No, they hurt us.
Like Trump's tariffs were about giving.
I'm gonna skip ahead just a second, and if there's not any more interesting parts, we'll skip ahead here.
Were they wearing Chinese
there's a lot
clothes?
of Russian music, but I didn't check the tags, but you know.
Yeah, but I mean like traditional Chinese garb. Like,
no, they want to wear American style, everything. But like traditional
American car, what would they? If you're a lot of the arguments you've been making since you've returned have come back to, but like if your average Russian family for the same price could have a comparable Chinese car or a comparable American car, what would they choose?
I couldn't say with certainty, but my feeling would be they choose American because they have a fetish for American stuff over there. Absolutely. And like
were they listening to Chinese music?
No.
Were they listening to American music?
It was American music.
Were they wearing Chinese
there's a lot
clothes?
of Russian music, but
Jesus Christ, like legit North Korea tour. He's come back from a tour of North Korea, put on and sponsored by Kim Jong-un, and he's like, I don't know what the problem is that everybody has with North Korea. The guy seemed really awesome to me. He gave me a couple Cokes, gave me a cheeseburger, sent me to this really nice hotel. Like, I don't know what everybody's talking about with North Korea. Things seem fine to me.
The cultural decay and Satanism that we have here in America is hard to deny. So from that perspective, it's easy to see why they want to resist that. And they look at it as a civilizational battle. And that's one problem I'm having with my reporting is coming back from there. You want to be balanced. You want to have the pros and cons. And from what I've seen, it's very hard to find any of the cons. Like
cons with what?
Cons as far as everybody portraying Russia to be negative or finding the downside to what they're doing or finding people who disagreed even with what they're doing.
I'm sorry. You don't see the downside in killing hundreds of thousands of people? You don't see the downside in losing over 1 million of your own soldiers? You don't see the downside in starting the biggest war in Europe since World War II? Is that what is that what he just said? Is that what he said? Is that what he said?
Let me offer that.
Yeah.
I mean, even for someone who was sympathetic to the argument that NATO was encircling, that Biden was kind of blowing through some of these buffers recklessly and without a real plan.
Quite literally, and I know we say it a lot, quite literally, Russian propaganda, Kremlin talking points 101. Now, I would be very surprised if the next words out of his mouth wasn't the Azov battalion and denazification.
I look at the amount of death and I look at the amount of bloodshed, and I look at Trump as a willing partner for peace. He's showing that in the Middle East. He's shown that throughout Africa. Why isn't Putin doing more to forge that peace? And by the way, I'm not saying Zelensky is a Boy Scout here. I think he's done plenty to sabotage, and I think that there have been some consequences for him.
Like what? Such as what?
As a result of that. But like, you know what I wish? I wish Putin and Trump could have emerged out of Alaska and said, look, we're meeting again in 6 weeks. And, we believe that we will have a ceasefire and then to see bloodshed reduce. Instead,
they stopped saying the word ceasefire altogether. The drones and missile strikes have fucking only increased. And Vladimir Putin has literally bitch slapped and kicked Donald Trump in the fucking crotch at every single turn.
Increase the acuity of some of the attacks against Ukraine since Alaska. And I don't know why.
All right. So fucking, I'm done with these two idiots. I think we can kind of we can kind of figure out just what the purpose of this meeting is. And again, no different than Tucker Carlson with his fucking Russian grocery store visit. This is absolutely North Korea style propaganda used by the Russians with an American, knowing that he would come back to America and sit down with Matt Gaetz and try to fucking perpetuate and spew more of this bullshit that comes out of his mouth, right? But we have a lot more to get to. I haven't even I'm running out of time here. All right, let's dive into just a little bit of this one because I did want to talk about this as well. We'll only get into the first couple minutes because that's probably where most of his bullshit is. And then we'll go on to our next story. But this is Tim Pool, ladies and gentlemen, apparently not mad, doesn't care. This America first, only cares about America only. Doesn't care now that Americans are being actively paid by the Saudi regime that actively took down our fucking, that was responsible for 9/11 and the disembowelment and chopping up of reporter Jamal Khashoggi. Doesn't have any problem with people going over there and taking the Saudi blood money, but he is upset at Dave Chappelle for in some way criticizing free speech in America. And again, fuck every single one of the people, the comics or so-called comics that went over there and took this money. Like as much as they could possibly be fucked. Fuck them. That goes for Bill Burr. That goes for every single one of these hacks. But let's just dive into a little bit of this and see what Tim had to say.
So a bunch of comedians went to Saudi Arabia for a comedy festival. I don't really care all that much about this. They were
Mr. American First. Mr. America First, Mr. Make America Great Again, Mr. fucking how outraged he was at 9/11 and the retribution that we needed to get on the people around the world and how much it mattered then. But now Tim doesn't seem to give a fuck about 9/11, doesn't seem to give a shit about Jamal Khashoggi, doesn't seem to give a shit about taking Saudi blood money, doesn't care. Mr. America First here, ladies and gentlemen. I present Mr. America First. Do I care that the people responsible for 9/11 are paying American comedians fucking exorbitant amounts in order to launder their reputation and then make them actively self-censor their own jokes and agree not to make fun of the Saudis or the royal family or religion or this or that or slaves or, there's a multitude of things. But again, let's criticize Dave Chappelle because I think he said something bad about America.
were paid a lot of money, and I don't care all that much about this. However, I have complete disdain for these comedians who were paid by Saudi Arabia, who had to negotiate what they'd be allowed to talk about, and then had the gall to criticize America. Namely,
again, he doesn't care that they went there, doesn't care that they took the money. He cares that they went there and had bad things to say about fucking America. Like, how lost you'd have to be. Like, I don't know how tight that beanie would have to be on your fucking skull noggin there for how long in order to squeeze it that tight. Like, you just put 17,000 rubber bands on a watermelon and you're just waiting for the fucking top to pop off. Like, I don't know how stupid you'd have to be to consider yourself America first and, this American patriot, but not care, again, about comedians and Americans going over and taking Saudi blood money, the same people that were responsible for 9/11 and the same people that killed Jamal Khashoggi.
Chappelle. I tweeted this, and there are people like, "You're gonna name names, Tip? You're gonna Bill Burr, hypocrite, Dave Chappelle."
Oh yeah, big fucking strong guy you are. Because they've been railing against Bill Burr ever since he came out against the billionaires. Ever since he came out against the 1% in this country. Tim Pool and his 1% asshole friends have really not liked Bill Burr. So this is their opportunity to jump on him, and rightfully so. As I'll say again, fuck Bill Burr and his decision to do this. He's absolutely lost any credibility that he gained on the world stage in the last few months as it pertains to the plight of the working class in this fucking country.
Hell, come on. I don't know that I can call him a hypocrite other than it's not just jokes. You know what I mean? Like,
wait, I'm sorry. You can't call him a hypocrite when he said it's easier to talk in Saudi Arabia than it is in America? And again, who does that reflect poorly upon? Who is the people in charge right now? Who are the people in government? Who are the people in the presidency? Who are the people in the Senate? Who has the fucking House? Who has the Supreme Court? So if there's any reason why it's fucking difficult to speak in America, like isn't there only one regime and one fucking administration you can blame for that? Like, what's the deal?
I think you can joke about most anything. The issue is that Dave Chappelle took money from Saudi Arabia while criticizing America, and that
I don't know if you can speak about anything. I don't know if you can speak about anything. We'll find out. We'll see what the retaliation is on SNL from their cold opening. You know what I mean? We'll see we'll see how long they're allowed to make fun of anything and everything in this country, because it seemingly looks like that's in more danger than ever, especially under Donald Trump's control and his fucking, his snowflake, like, brittle skin that he has, that he can't take a joke, right? Let's see here.
Is hypocrisy. Now, apparently Tim Dillon was invited to this, but got uninvited because he said naughty things about Saudi Arabia, I guess. And he was bragging about, getting paid $400,000 or close to $400,000.
Which is nothing, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, how can we expect the fucking guy that received, what was it, a couple $100,000 an episode from Tenet Media, which actually was coming from the Kremlin, which is actually a Moscow-funded fucking venture to fund right-wing hacks in the United States politics, so that they can keep spewing the bullshit that they were already spewing. So we can't honestly expect Tim to care about a couple comedians going over to Saudi Arabia to take blood money when he got paid far more per episode from Russia to do his and spew his bullshit, right? So it just kind of makes sense that he wouldn't really have a problem with them taking the blood money, because that would only bring up the conversation about how he took blood money from Tenet Media, from a fake billionaire that was only representing the Kremlin. People like him, Benny Johnson, and the other assholes, right? So I can, it's becoming more aware to me why he's taking the stance that he's taking.
And I'm just like, guys, these people are for sale. A big divide in the culture war is those who want a better future and those who want money.
And again, putting you in the category of people that want money, again, not doing your due diligence and research, to try to figure out who this, shadowy billionaire figure behind the scenes is, ready to send you and your friends an exorbitant amount of money per episode to make you ultra wealthy. And literally you didn't have to change a damn thing because the shit that you were already saying was fucking mis and disinformed enough and propagandistic enough, where it already had the same effect, that if these Russians came in and gave you the talking points, it probably wouldn't go any better for them. So they just let you do your thing. You're already fucking making an ass out of yourself. You're already making a fool out of the United States. You're already misinforming your entire chat and people that view your show. So just keep doing it. We'll just keep doing it.
Let's talk about this. From the Hollywood Reporter. Dave Chappelle criticizes free speech in America at Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. It's easier to talk here than
I don't care what he has to say about Dave Chappelle. I just thought of that in my head. I just realized I don't give a fuck what Tim Pool has to say about Dave Chappelle. I just wanted to hear him in his own words, with his own mouth, say that he didn't care about Americans going over and taking blood money from Saudi Arabia, the people that, again, flew the planes into the fucking World Trade Centers. And again, the people that chopped up and disemboweled and dismembered Jamal Khashoggi. Mr. America First, Mr. Patriot here. Just wanted to hear from his own mouth that he just doesn't give a shit. Like, why would he care? He's more mad that Dave Chappelle said something about, I don't know, America. All right, let's see here. Let's get into, what do I got? A couple more minutes left. All right, that should give me enough time to kind of dive into a little bit of this as well. So let me put this on the screen for you guys. I'm glad that, oh my God, I'm forgetting everything. I am forgetting everything. All right. Let me put this up on the screen and then we'll get to that. Let me get to that because I can't totally forget about this. All right. So in our ongoing coverage of what's going on in Gaza, especially with the announcement of fucking Trump and Bibi's new 21 point plan, and what's going on with that, I guess there has been a little movement here to report. This is an Axios article that says, Trump to Netanyahu on Gaza talks. You're always so fucking negative, says Donald Trump to Benjamin Netanyahu, right? So you can tell Donald Trump's starting to get a little peeved with Bibi. He's stepping in the way of Donald Trump's Nobel Peace Prize that he so desperately wants, right? So let's see if we can just take a look at this. This is when Hamas came back with a yes, but to President Trump's Gaza peace proposal on Friday. Apparently, Hamas has agreed to release all the hostages, but with further stipulation, with further asks, I believe, in relation to the removal and withdrawal of the IDF of the Israeli forces, along as some other talking points with some other bullet points that need to be addressed. But we can just see here, without having to go through the paywall, that Netanyahu feels very differently about the recent development from Hamas, right? He goes on to say, Bibi told Trump this is nothing to celebrate and that it doesn't mean anything, which is supposedly a direct quote from Benjamin Netanyahu after hearing the news that Hamas was ready to release the hostages upon the agreement of some other bullet points, right? So the person that claims to be all about saving the fucking hostages, this whole thing is about getting the hostages back home, is now saying that Hamas agreeing to give up the remainder of the hostages, both dead and alive, if I'm not mistaken, is not a good thing. It's nothing to celebrate. So he's not celebrating the return home of the potential return home of the hostages. And it's nothing to be celebrated. Like, he is not happy that this thing may have some resolution in sight, because Bibi knows as soon as this conflict is over, as soon as he has no war to conduct, fucking God willing that happens very soon, that his ass is going to be grass, and fucking everybody in the international community is the lawnmower. Not to mention the trouble from the corruption that he's engaged in his own country. Like, he's got problems that he's facing well above the war crimes that he's conducted in this fucking in this war, right? So he says here, Trump fires back at Benjamin Netanyahu after Netanyahu said this was nothing to celebrate and meant nothing, saying, I don't know why you're always so fucking negative. This is a win. Take it. And I have to say, probably for the first time in fucking I don't know how long, I agree with the response from Donald Trump to Netanyahu, if that's what he really said, right? Like, if he's really being like, yo, listen, you fucking moron, like, this is a win, take it and shut the fuck up. Like, that's how he should be treated. Netanyahu should be treated. Not to give anybody in this situation too many flowers, because they don't deserve a fucking petal, but still. Whether it's because Donald Trump is seeing that Nobel Peace Prize slip from his fucking fingertips, or because of some other reason, it seems like he's getting fed up more and more with Benjamin Netanyahu. And there's a couple other things. Let me see here. There was this as well that I wanted to touch on. Let's see. Was it this one or was it this one? Maybe this one? Yeah, dozens killed in Gaza despite Trump's call for Israel to halt bombing. So this just goes to show, again, how serious or unserious Netanyahu is about ending this conflict, about ending the killing, about ending the starvation, about ending the genocide. This was, again, after Donald Trump calls for Israel to halt bombing, and again, after Hamas had agreed to, I don't know what you'd call it, come to the table. So basically, after Hamas had agreed to say yes, but, as we just reported, Donald Trump reportedly called for Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli military to stop and halt the bombing so that these, the talking points, the bullet points could be discussed and hashed out. And apparently that's not good enough for Benjamin Netanyahu. He does not care. And again, this is just launching more strikes against potential fucking hostages that could be released if these negotiations were to progress, right? So dozens killed in Gaza despite Trump's call for Israel to halt bombing. Let's see here. Islamic Jihad move could face retaliation. Let's see. Dozens were killed in Israeli strikes on Gaza Saturday. Local health officials said despite a demand from U.S. President Donald Trump for Israel to stop bombing in response to a declaration by Hamas that it was ready to free hostages under its plan to end the 2-year-old war, with ceasefire talks due to begin in Egypt in this coming week. Trump said on Saturday in his Truth Social platform that Israel agreed to an initial withdrawal line inside Gaza, and that when Hamas confirms the ceasefire will be immediately effective. At least 36 people in bombardments were killed in bombardments and airstrikes. Let me see. In the devastated Palestinian enclave since Trump pressed Israel to halt its attacks late on Friday. So 36 people. 36 more people have been killed after Donald Trump, again, trying to, strong arm Israel, showing how weak and ineffective he is as a leader, how he's unable to get any other world leader to listen to what he has to say. 36 more people killed in bombardments and airstrikes in the Palestinian enclave since Trump pressed Israel to halt its attacks on late Friday. 18 people died in sporadic incidents, while 18 people, including children, were killed and several others wounded in an Israeli airstrike on a house in Tufa neighborhood in Gaza City. Medics said the attacks damaged several buildings nearby. And I think we actually had more. Let's see here. Let me see if I can pull this up for you guys too. I think I had one more of these articles, one more of these things to talk about. Yeah, I think it was this one. Put this on the screen for you guys. ABC. And I think this is just a quick video talking about, again, the recent developments, talking about how Hamas responded on Friday to President Donald Trump's proposal. This says Hamas said it will release all remaining hostages if Israel withdraws.
Hope for the release of hostages in Gaza in just days.
My apologies. Hamas said it will release all remaining hostages if Israel withdraws from Gaza and proper field conditions are met. More negotiations will need to take place to finalize the deal, which Trump unveiled Monday while hosting Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. I think one of the main sticking points is going to be the fact that I believe Hamas has asked to remain in control, or at least in some form of control of the of the territories, which I don't think you'll ever get Benjamin Netanyahu to agree upon. So I don't know if this is, again, a sticking point that has no hopes for resolution, or if we can actually put our foot down and use our leverage as the United States to force Benjamin Netanyahu into maybe accepting terms that aren't 100% favorable and agreeable to him, right? But let me just see if I can put this on the screen, see if this kind of gives us any further insight into what is being discussed and talked about. Please hit that like button, guys. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics, the political podcast just put on to sift through the bullshit, the propaganda, and the nonsense of the mainstream media, Republicans, Donald Trump, and anybody else trying to lie directly to your faces. We are just blue-collar, everyday Americans that are breaking down this bullshit for other blue-collar, everyday Americans, because you don't need a political degree. You don't need to drink with your pinky up in order to understand this stuff, because we are affected directly by these policies, by these positions, and probably the quickest people to be affected by these positions. The lower class, the poor, the lower class, and the working class people of this country are always first on the list. So let's just dive into a little bit of this. Please, if you have not yet, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Those are free. Subscribing to the channel is free. Becoming a member is going another step, and it is a financial contribution to the show. So anybody that's confused over whether or not a subscription to the channel costs you anything, it does not. It is 100% free, just like hitting that thumbs up. So please do so.
We turn now to the Mideast and hope for the release of hostages in Gaza in just days. ABC News chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell is live right there in Jerusalem with the latest overnight. Good morning, Ian.
Yeah, good morning, Gio. President Trump applying pressure to Israel and Hamas to move forward to end this 2-year-long war. He says that Israel has now agreed to partially withdraw, and that should then trigger the release of the hostages. But
just in case you guys are wondering, Israel has agreed to their own plan.
This remains a fragile process with many doubts about whether or not it can succeed.
This morning, Israel and Hamas prepare for talks to try to end the war in Gaza. President Trump saying Israel has agreed to a partial withdrawal of troops, writing online, when Hamas confirms the ceasefire will be immediately effective, the hostages and prisoner exchange will begin and will create the conditions for the next phase of withdrawal.
And I'm still kind of confused, because it seems to me like Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump are so ready to give the green light to just eradicate everybody, including the remaining hostages, if, again, not all of the talking points or sticking points are agreed to by Hamas. Like, again, how we talked about on the other show when we first brought up the meeting that they had, when I believe this was all in favor, all to get a deal out there that Benjamin Netanyahu could say that Hamas broke the terms of, in order to give him free will, free reign, and the tacit permission from the United States government to go in with full force. But going in with full force means neglecting the health of the remaining hostages. Like you are going in there and bombing indiscriminately, which means you actively have the potential to kill your own citizens as well. So effectively saying that, again, if Hamas does not agree to every single talking point, every sticking point, and every bullet point in this, we are effectively going to go in and kill our own hostages as well as anybody left in this territory. Seems to me like what they're saying.
Warning earlier that he'll not tolerate delay from Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressing the nation, saying he hopes to announce the release of all remaining hostages from Gaza in the coming days.
Go fuck yourself.
Overnight, more than 100,000 demonstrators gathering in Tel Aviv with a simple, forceful message. It's now or never.
We cannot let another deal collapse.
Hamas has agreed in principle to release all the remaining hostages, alive or dead.
Do you hear what he said there, though? Do you hear what he said there? We cannot let another deal collapse. Because this would be far from, I mean, who remembers when Biden first, remember when he announced his plan way back when, and then immediately Benjamin Netanyahu went on Israeli state television to downplay, to refute, right, and to fucking actively combat the peace plan that was trying to be put in place by the United States and Biden, right? It's at every turn, there's evidence to suggest that Netanyahu does not want peace, right? At every turn, he said, oh, everybody loves to say all they got to do is give back the hostages. All they got to do is give back the hostage. Well, bullshit, because I've heard from Benjamin Netanyahu and multiple ambassadors and multiple IDF spokespeople say that this conflict would not end even upon the return of the hostages, right? This is about the eradication of Hamas way more than it is about the return of the hostages. And that is said through the fucking Israeli government officials' mouths, not mine.
It'd only free them if there are proper field conditions, saying they're ready to negotiate the details. But while Hamas has agreed to some of Trump's 20-point proposal, there's been no mention of the group disarming, as the president demanded, and there are questions about just how that would happen and who'd oversee it. Meanwhile, in Gaza, despite President Trump calling for Israel to stop its bombing and Netanyahu instructing the Israeli military to hold all offensive operations, dozens killed in Israeli strikes Saturday, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Palestinians there reacting to the possibility of this war finally ending. I hope Hamas ends this war, this man says, because we're truly tired. The war has left nothing for us.
So indirect talks set to get underway tomorrow in Egypt, with the US playing the role of mediator. And I think that success or failure is going to depend on two key things. Firstly, is either party genuinely ready to compromise? And secondly, is President Trump ready to stay the course and guide these talks to success?
All right, well, so just a little update from that area with the latest updates, again, in the developments with both Hamas and with Benjamin Netanyahu and the ongoing killings that we have seen even after Donald Trump had instructed Benjamin Netanyahu to, halt his military while these talks were ongoing. As I said, being reported by people like Reuters as well, dozens killed in Gaza, despite Trump's call for Israel to halt bombing. And then you got this one as well that we talked about where, a little frustration being shown by Donald Trump. And again, whether this is because he's desperate for a Nobel Peace Prize or otherwise remains to be seen here, but seems to be increasingly more aware at the reluctancy of Benjamin Netanyahu, the same way he was very slow on the upkeep, very slow on realizing how how unwilling Vladimir Putin is to ending his war in Ukraine. He's now, I think, coming to a similar realization with Netanyahu, to finally realize that, okay, maybe he doesn't want to end this war. Maybe the only way he stays in power is to keep keep the killing going, right? So, all right, let's see if I can go on to our next story. We got, see if I can squeeze it in a couple minutes here. I think that's it. And then we'll go to a couple minutes of this. And then we're going to end on the SNL cold opening, making fun of Donald Trump and I believe Pete Hegseth. All right, so let's see if I can bring this up on. And this was very, this kind of hit home to me. Let me see if I can bring this up too. So take a look at this area. Here, I'll put it on screen. Take a look at this. Take a look at where he's sitting. Take a look at the area. Take a look at the buildings. Take a look at the cobblestone. Right now, check this out. How can I present this? And I'm going to put myself back on the screen here. I'm going to present, stop screen. I'm going to present, window. Oh, here it is. You may not have any audio, but you'll be able to see it. So this is video that I took. This is video that I took on my, my trip to Ukraine. This is Lviv, right? So let's go back to where that guy was sitting here. All right, let's see if I can StreamYard present Share screen again. I don't know why it's becoming so difficult, but it's the same spot, same exact spot. So the hotel that we stayed in was, let me see if you can see my, I'm not sure you can see my mouse, but the hotel we stayed in was right here with these two lights. This is a nice big church. You can actually see, I don't know why it doesn't let me just keep going back and forth with showing you guys these two pictures. Present video file. Maybe I can do it that way. No, it'll take me forever to find it. It'll take me forever to find it. So I'll have to do it this way. Stop screen. I'll just go back to this one more time. Share screen. Here's the window. Here's this. Now you can see it. So it's the same area, which is crazy to see. I know it might not have too much meaning for you guys, but you know, to see it all done, and I'll go back just a little bit, right? So this is the guy. So that construction that you're seeing, right, in the original picture was just over here to the left. You can see that they finished the cobblestones, right? You can see the street looks the same here. Right? So now cut back once more to this one, if I may, to show you this one. Sorry, it's a pain in the ass to do this on fucking StreamYard, if I do say so myself. If I do say so myself, Skipper. Right here, it's the same exact thing. So you can see they finished the pavement, they finished the walkway, right? They finished the sidewalk there. Those are these black things you can see were being constructed. And again, the hotel we stayed at was just down here. So pretty cool to see. I know it may not be as interesting to you guys, but this is just, I just want to go over a couple minutes of this. This is crazy. Check this out. Check this out. And again, this is putting together two passions that I have. One, for sports, in golf in particular, and also my love and passion for, helping and supporting the Ukrainian people in their fucking time of plight here. So I just want to go into a little bit of this, if I may, and then we'll go into the SNL cold opening, and then I'll get you guys out of here. So check this out, please.
Hi, I'm Eric, and this is Adventures in Golf. For this episode, we've traveled to Western Ukraine, to a country that's been at war for more than 3 years.
Yes, golf. I see you snickering in there. I see you snickering, Moon Girl. I see you snickering. And believe me, it's a lot more than just talking about golf. It's talking about rehabilitation for soldiers that have lost almost everything in this war, that have lost arms, legs, eyes, fingers, and them just trying to have some way to feel like a normal human being, to feel like they're not in an active war zone every single day. Right. So it's not, I'm not bringing this up because it's like, oh, I want to celebrate golf, or this is just about, like, this is bringing together, like I said, so much more. He's in a place that I once stepped foot in. You know what I mean? He's there helping these people, talking about soldiers that have lost so much and how the game of golf is giving them back some humanity. So yes, I am going to talk about it. And if, I'm not saying that you, Moon Girl, don't care, but if anybody doesn't care, feel free to hit the bricks.
There are some golf courses open here, and for Ukrainians, they serve a new purpose, but there's no forgetting where we are.
And again, just to kind of give credit where credit is due, this is the Scratch Golf channel. Titled Golf's Powerful Role in Ukraine, Adventures in Golf Season 9. Again, they got about 310,000 subscribers. This was put on 5 days ago. And again, let's go. So, and again, not to make this too personal, but this is the exact spot where I experienced my first air raid siren in Kyiv. This is where the underground mall is. So again, to bring back and invoke these types of memories in a place like this, and again, trying to bring trying to make this a positive story.
On February 22nd, 2022, in the early hours of the morning, Ukraine was invaded by its nuclear neighbor, Russia. The capital city, Kyiv, and other key points around the country were no longer safe.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning. The house just shake. You can see it immediately from our window from Kyiv.
With a full-scale attack underway, the Ukrainian president claimed that weapons would be given to anyone who wanted to defend the country. The people here were left with a choice: leave or fight.
We take care with my friend about our family, just bring them from another place and figure out what we're gonna do. And the answer was the only one. If the war starts, we're going straight there and just protect our country.
This is Denis Ryabtsev. A few months ago, he reached out to me with a story. His story. A story about war, about hope, and believe it or not, about golf. A game so new to Ukraine, only 6 courses had been built in this country, and that was before the war. Denis has already lived many lives: soldier, poker shark, professional hockey player, and after retiring from hockey in 2016, PGA certified golf pro. By 2018, he was working full-time at Gulfstream, Ukraine's most ambitious golf project, just a few miles outside Kyiv. A championship course with rolling hills, real fairways, and important.
But just listen to the people, and I know you're probably being like, "Well, what?" No, just listen to the people that he works with. That's where the real emotional fucking involvement in this story comes from.
It was to be the future of golf in Ukraine, but the war changed that. By early March of 2022, Gulfstream had become a war zone. Since then, tanks have destroyed fairways, armaments are strewn through bunkers, and missile explosions continue to this day. But even in wartime, golf has found a way to survive. In western Ukraine, just outside the city of Lviv, one course has stayed open: Edem Golf Club. A strange and stunning 9-hole track, Edem cuts through dense forest and is populated with surreal sculptures. It's part retreat and part
It's
modern
fucking
art.
beautiful that is. You shit me. Look at how fucking
Edem
beautiful
cuts
that
through
is.
dense forest and is populated with
Look
surreal
at
sculptures.
that. Look at that. I mean, and again, when I get to put together my hopefully full-length feature film with all of the video evidence and video that I took from my trip, I hope that you guys will get to see the beauty of the countryside of Ukraine and the beauty of the Ukrainian people as I saw it.
Sculptures. It's part retreat and part modern art gallery. After serving his country, it's here that Denis came, not just to rebuild his
All right,
life.
so here we
but
go.
to
This
teach
is
golf
where
to
we
those who've lost pieces of theirs.
This is where you start seeing where this actually comes into play in a country in a full-scale war, right? So you're probably thinking again, anybody just joining us, why are we talking about golf here? Why are we talking about golf here? This is about feeling normal. This is about rehabilitation. This is about bringing people out of a war zone that has lost everything, that may have thought their life was over, and it giving them some freedom, again, some activity that they can spend outside that doesn't involve getting shelled or droned or shot at, right? Just some fucking normalcy. And I don't think I can impress upon you people how just minute of a detail, how important that is in daily life when going through a war for so many years and having lost family members and limbs and stuff. Like, it's crazy.
After serving his country, it's here that Denis came, not just to rebuild his life, but to teach golf to those who have lost pieces of theirs. It's the reason we've begun this journey, a journey unlike any we've been on before.
When the war started, I think it's the day what change everything.
So many episodes of Adventures in Golf start on an airplane.
Через 600 метрів поверніть праворуч.
But today is different. You can't fly where we're going. Ukraine's airspace is closed due to the ongoing conflict. Instead, we land in Poland and drive across the border. That's how we meet Oleg.
What is your life like in Ukraine? Do you have a family? I noticed some groceries in the car.
Це не продукти, це it's my cat.
What is your cat's name?
One cat named Lucky.
Lucky.
Hopefully, Lucky is a good omen for our trip.
And I know we don't have time to cover this whole thing, but if I can just kind of skip ahead to where he's, showing the people that he's working with, I just look at this.
Lies in teaching golf.
I love to teach much more than I love to play, maybe. Yeah, because I see the result. Yeah.
As if on cue, one of his golf students, Markian, joins us for dinner. A dinner that I've been looking forward to.
And if I'm not mistaken, ladies and gentlemen, and I know it's insignificant and unimportant, but I do believe we ate dinner in the same exact restaurant.
For years. In my early 20s, as a broke photographer in New York City, I spent a lot of time at a Ukrainian diner called Veselka, where they served borscht. I never thought after all these years I'd be here, having the real thing.
See, look, Ukrainian borscht with tea
At Veselka.
No, the borscht is like without tea. No, borscht is like it's not borscht.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing
No,
with that.
no, it's just
I'm trying to figure out who's wrong. They are.
Just borscht.
This is my first spoonful of real borscht without a tea. Oh, wow.
The smallest village you can even imagine, and every village have the same stuff like this.
And I'm just going to play you one story because I know we're over already. I'm just going to play you this one story here.
Could it be?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. They mostly wanted to try what they can make after taking the trauma.
Right.
And they are so surprised that they can make more things that before the trauma.
Yeah.
Because they, before the trauma, never tried this.
Hi, I'm Eric. Nice to meet you.
I too.
Yeah.
I'm Eric. American.
Wow.
I'm American. Ukrainian.
On our way out, we meet Ukrainian Eric. Dennis immediately asks what he thinks of golf.
Мене звати Денис.
Дуже приємно.
Дуже приємно. Я директор гольф-клубу.
After hearing about the program, he joins the group that will be playing tomorrow. Has he ever played golf?
No.
So, your first time playing golf tomorrow?
Да, завтра перший раз на гольфі. Да.
I just think it's a great fucking story. I do. I just think it's amazing to see, them smiling, as opposed to, bedridden, laid up, depressed, going through PTSD, giving people some camaraderie, giving people some fucking, I don't know, I hate to say self-worth, but, a lot of people feel like when they lose limbs or legs, they're not a full person anymore. They're not whole. They can't contribute to society as they once did. And it's just, to show these people that that's absolutely not the truth, and that you can absolutely succeed, if not thrive still, with whatever injuries that you've had to sustain. All you need is the right leaders, the right guidance, the right friends, the right camaraderie, and anything is possible. So, anybody that is interested in any of these things and interested in maybe watching the rest of this and seeing, some of these other, disabled and amputees out there having fun playing golf in a time of war. Here's one where the guy lost his leg.
One play golf with one leg or one arm.
Different country. I saw it before, but never see it in Ukraine.
Now it's very common.
For me, it's a feel-good story at a time where feel-good stories are few and far between and hard to come by. But all right, before I get you guys out of here, as I promised, we're going to take a look at the cold opening from SNL. And then we'll have to fucking guess and speculate on what the retribution and the retaliation is going to be. Let's see if I can get this on here for you guys. I'm going to go actually to, let me see if I can. Why is it so grainy? I don't know why it looks so grainy. Let's see if I can go to this. See if this looks any better. Make it a little bigger. All right, you guys ready? This is the cold opening from Saturday Night Live that people are talking about. Hit that like button, and then after that, we'll go through the Venmos. We'll go through everybody that contributed on YouTube. How your milestones, your super stickers, your super chats, and we'll make sure to thank everybody and give everybody a good shout out. All right. So, what do you say we end on a high note and making fun of the morons in our government? Let's go. What do you say? Right there. I think they even make fun of Pete Hegseth, but I'm a little worried about. I'm a little worried about copyright, so I'm only going to play what they posted. If I get too sassy with it, I'm sure they'll hit me with a copyright strike. So I'm just going to play what they posted. If you want to check out the rest of it or the full clip, I'm sure you can find it in a multitude of different places online. I'm sure they've even posted the whole thing. So yeah, it's not the whole, just a little snippet of it. And like I said, yeah, I understand that wasn't the whole thing, and I think they do a good job of going after Hegseth, if I was told correctly as well, but. Like I said, some of these shows aren't too friendly as far as copyright strikes are concerned. But before I get into thanking everybody on Venmo and thanking everybody on YouTube, I would just like to send out my deepest and most sincerest condolences to a childhood friend who lost their father, Joe, Rob, Mike. My thoughts and prayers are with you guys, and He was an old football coach of mine, and fuck. Fuck. I figured I'd wait till the end of the show to do this because I knew I wasn't going to be good at it. But yeah, my heart goes out to you guys. It really does. I'm sure they don't watch the show, but if there's anything I could do, please let me know. But not to end it on a low note, let's see if I can go into thanking everybody. Oh, hold on one sec. My apologies. Oh, another map. Yeah, Mel sent the map of the routes taken by the air and surface missiles. Ballistic cruise missiles launched in a one-way drone attack last night. The largest attack by Russia against Ukraine, with this likely being the largest or one of the largest attacks of the war against Western Ukrainian city of Lviv and the Lviv Oblast. And you can see, I think we've played some of these on screen before, so you can see the amount of drone, missile, and cruise missile activity there, which is kind of crazy, obviously. All right, but let's get into thanking some people. I'm all over the place. I'm always discombobulated when I get emotional. I do apologize. All right, so thank you, wonderful people. Thank you, Roxanne, as always. Shout out to Roxanne. You're babysitting. I'm puppy sitting. We can give them back. Right. Thank you, Roxanne. Shout out to you. I very much appreciate that. You're a saint. Thank you, Allison. Shout out to Allison. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for the $10 on the Venmo. Thank you so much, Moms, as well. Shout out to Moms. Happy Sunday to you from everybody here at this wonderful household. Shout out to you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. That goes for Claudia, Jessica, Sharon, Jenny Faye, Nancy, Victoria, Dame, Nicole, Jenny Faye again, Karen, JD, Jamie, sorry, I keep mixing those up, Moms, and Nancy again. So thank you so much, guys, to everybody who is kind enough to reach out financially, to come out of pocket financially with $1 or $2, or even a lot of times much more than that, to help this show continue to grow, to make sure that we can continue doing this and bringing you guys the news and the facts as we see it here. So without you guys on Venmo, without these fine people I'm about to thank now on YouTube, none of this is possible. So again, I just big shout out to you guys. Much love for all the support. That goes for Stargal as well. Shout out to Stargal. Happy Sunday, Brian. Wish I could sub over on Twitch. We'll have to get that figured out at some point. Like I said, I feel like I've jumped through every hoop they want me to jump through, but there must be something that I'm missing behind the scenes. So hopefully at some point we get that squared away and we can get you guys another platform where, anybody that is enthusiastic enough or willing to, contribute or sign up or donate can do so on those other platforms as well. I'm just, I'm not here to, I don't know. I was never here to make this a profitable venture. I just, wanted to make sure that I could keep food on the table and the lights on and the best equipment that we could possibly make this the best show. Again, I'm not trying to drive around in Ferraris or Lamborghinis, just to make sure that we can continuously bring you guys the news in the way that is, visually entertaining and also informational at the same time. So thank you, Stargal. Thank you, Wes. Shout out to Wes. Thank you so much for the Ray Bork, the 777. Very nice of you. Thank you, Machine Tool. Congratulations on being here. And thank you for being here for 4 months, checking in from where. We do where. So I appreciate you, Machine Tool. Hope everybody's staying safe. And thank you for your passion for helping people. Thank you for your passion for, getting out there and getting hands-on and really making sure that these people know that there are people from all over the world that still support them. So Machine Tool, thank you so much. Slacks, thank you so much. Shout out to you. Love right back to you from both me, Mel, and Logan. and from all the Bryantologists. We appreciate you, brother, and we thank you for being here every show. Thank you, Kathleen. Shout out to you. Happy Sunday, Brian. I keep having to leave the chat rooms lately with so much bullshit going on because it's so overwhelming, but I appreciate your honesty and energy. Thank you. Well, Kathleen, I really appreciate you for noticing. Shout out to you for your contributions. Thank you for coming back here. And again, anybody that needs to take some time off, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, regardless if it's here or in another chat or something, then feel free to take your time off. Clear your mental space there and come back nice and strong whenever you feel fit. So I appreciate you, Kathleen. Thank you so much for spreading the good news, and thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you, JD, for your 10 gifted, man. Come on, man. You're a fucking unbelievable. Shout out to JD. Thank you so much. And please make sure if you're any one of those members that just got a free membership from JD, that you're thanking JD and every single other person that is nice enough to contribute with memberships. Again, we're on our way to 1,000 members here at YouTube, which is crazy because we're on our way to 14,000 subscribers, but already on our way to 1,000 members, which is, I don't know, I feel like something I should be bragging about, to tell you the truth. So thank you so much, JD. Thank you, B-Dog. Shout out to you, B-Man. Keep up the great work, Brian. I appreciate it. Thank you for your loyalty. Appreciate you being here for 6 months, dude. Very nice to see you in the chat. Ricky, it goes for you as well. Big shout out to Ricky. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted. I appreciate that. And again, if you're one of the 10 amazing people in this chat that got one of those free memberships, not only should you be thanking Ricky and people like JD and people like Nordez and everybody else gifting memberships, but please think about, if you still find yourself coming back when that membership ends, please think about renewing that membership for $2.99, at least for another month. It does go a long way, and it's kind of a downer and kind of a hit to the old pocketbook, I'll say, when, a lot of these gifted memberships come at once, but then they all go away at once too. So it's kind of hard to predict how and what and where I'm going to be at what stage. So I appreciate you guys, but I would just implore you to consider, if you get a gifted membership and you find yourself coming back and utilizing that membership, to think about, if you're in the financial position to do so, of course, renewing that membership. That's all I ask. I appreciate it. So thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Marsha. Shout out to you, Marsha, in the gifted membership. Please make sure you're thanking Marsha for reaching out and thanking everybody else as well. So shout out to you, Marsha. Shout out to you, Simon. Hi, Boston Brian. Hey, Lobsters. What's going on, my brother? Appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here for 2 months. Thank you for your loyalty and your friendship. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Carol, for gifting 5 memberships. Oh, you guys are unbelievable. Nordez with 10 gifted memberships. Jorge's been here for 11 months. Let's fucking go. Appreciate you, Jorge. Appreciate you, Nordez. Appreciate you, Carol. You guys are amazing. Nordez coming in with 20 from Rosanna. Thank you so much, Rosanna, for the profanity jar. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. You guys are amazing. Just one of my favorite couples in the chat. I can tell you that much. Thank you, Steph, as well. Shout out to Steph for being here for 8 months. Thankful for this group. I am absolutely thankful for this group as well. And I am happy to see that other people are now, getting engaged in the chat and are getting, becoming so much more friendly with everybody, that, just saying hi to people in the chat is another reason why you guys keep coming back, which is, it's a cool thing to see. It really is a cool thing to see. So shout out to you, Steph. Shout out to Laurie. Go enjoy that beautiful day. Oh, a beautiful baby. Thanks, Brian. I will. I'm going to go squeeze his little chubby cheeks right now. I appreciate it, Laurie. Shout out to you. Shout out, Ruben. Thank you so much, Ruben. Sorry for your loss, Brian. Again, it's not, it was a good family friend growing up, one of my closest friends growing up, and his dad was involved in Pop Warner football for so long, and coaching baseball for so long, and not only that, but obviously the time that I spent hanging out with my friend at his house and engaging in conversation. He was a great guy. He was hilarious. Really down to earth parent, really cool parent, and again, just I wish everybody in that family my utmost sympathies and condolences in your loss. So thank you, Ruben, for your kind words. So I really do appreciate it. I really do. So thank you, Ruben. Shout out to Frida. Got to stay tight. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. No worries. And again, I love to, I always make a point of saying, if you're in the financial position to do so, and that's why I say $1 or $2, right? I don't expect any more than that from anybody at any time. $1 or $2 from every single person that watches in the chat would go even further than some of the amazing people that come out of pocket with so much. Like, if we just spread that wealth, if we shared the wealth, right, and we just spread that burden throughout everybody, that would make everybody, I think, more apt to stick around a lot longer and not put the pressure on, again, you fabulous people that are here every single show, donating every single show, contributing every single show in every way possible. I appreciate it so much, but I'm looking to, again, not put so much burden on some of the OGs in the chat and kind of spread the wealth and, grow our community. And again, maybe if we could get a couple bucks from each of the members of the community, that would go a long way in, again, making sure that not one person feels too much pressure. So thank you, Frida. I appreciate that. Thank you, Karen. Shout out to you. Right back at you. Thank you again, Ruben. Thank you again, JD. You guys are amazing. You guys really are amazing. And I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your aggression, your passion, your love for democracy, your hate for authoritarianism and fascism. I thrive on all of those things. So again, I'll see you guys Tuesday for the Tuesday show. Make sure you're hitting that notification bell. That way you know every time I go live. Let's see here. If I could put up the schedule for you guys, that would probably give you a little better idea for anybody that's new and just joining us. Here is the schedule for the week. We repeat this every single week. So if you want, take a picture of it, jot it down so you can remember when we are live. Again, that's Sunday, Tuesdays, 2 shows on Wednesdays, and every Thursday. So please check out the show here. If there's any time that works better for you, then I'd love to see you there. We do have our October Zooms as well. The dates picked out. This is the last time I checked. I think it's been popping up on the screen. There you go. So we get the 9th for our monthly Zoom, and then October 23rd for our VIP Zoom. And that's anybody that's signed up at patreon.com/Boston Brian before those dates is more than welcome and more than able to take place in those Zoom chats, which again is just us shooting the shit, getting to know each other a little bit more. A little bit more directly. You can put a face to the screen names a lot of the times. It just gives us a little bit more ways to interact. So anybody that signed up at patreon.com for as little as $5 a month to help this channel get you involved in those Zooms. And again, the backbone is the Patreon community. The backbone are the members here on YouTube, and the backbone are the people that continuously super chat and send the Venmo. So thank you guys. I'll see you Tuesday. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Hit the like on the way out. Subscribe on the way out, please. If you caught yourself liking what you're hearing, if you're liking what you're seeing, and you feel like you might want to come back for another show, hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free. It costs you nothing. It changes nothing about your algorithm. It may, in fact, just bring you more of my show. So please hit that like, the thumbs up, and hit that subscribe button on the way out. And again, if you want to go the extra mile, there's a multitude of different ways you can do that, but I've already given you those. So I appreciate it. I'll see you Tuesday. I'm Boston Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Keep kicking ass, ladies and gentlemen. It may not feel like it, but we do have the momentum. We do have the ammunition. We do have the weaponry in our fucking belts right now to pull off a huge victory going into the 2026 midterms, and then following that up with a huge victory going into 2028 to take back the presidency, to take back our government, and to reverse every single one of these detrimental policies that have been put in place in every one of these relationships with our allies that has been harmed throughout the globe. So I appreciate it. That's our job. That's our mission, and stick to it. All right. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you guys take care of yourselves. Find your nearest protest. Find your nearest fucking rally. Get out there. Stay loud. Stay proud. Know that we have the facts, the evidence, and the policies on our side that are going to make this fucking society better for the American people, and we just need to get them on our side. All right. I appreciate you guys. Keep fighting. I'm Boston Brian, and I'll see you Tuesday. All right. Appreciate you guys. Peace. Thank you, James. Thank you, James, for sending the Venmo. I appreciate that very much. I really do, dude. Hopefully you can hear me.
referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular, and pitchers, I guess you could say, in really particular.
You're drunk. You're drunk. Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
I'm just dandy. I got a bowl of chocolate pudding in my underpants.
They're just getting acclimated. You know what that means, acclimated?
What uranium is, right? This thing called nuclear weapons and other things, like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things.
Have a great day, guys. Enjoy your weekend. I appreciate you. Slava Ukraine. Slava. Fuck ICE. Fuck Donald Trump. Let's fucking go. Free Palestine.
Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting. Never fight uphill, me boys. But it was too late.
How do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president? Seriously, how do you lie to the FBI and now you're running for president?
Oh, go fuck yourself.
Tell the director to call the White House. Do your fucking job!
Yes, of course, hence the name. Movement, it moves a certain distance, then it stops, you see. Revolution gets its name by always coming back around in your face. You tried to kill me, you son of a bitch. So welcome to the revolution.
Fucking Nazis.
I'm standing up here bashing the living shit out of Nazis.
Yes, of course.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful, I'll give yourselves a round of applause. It's so lovely, everyone's so lovely.
The big, fat, sloppy Obama. The big, fat, sloppy vagina. Shifting production to Thailand and to Vietnam.
My superpower's being honest. I will eat my neighbors. Cacophony, a crescendo, a finale, a coup de grace.
Is there anything worse than white people? White people are a mortal danger to you and your loved ones.
My superpower's being honest. I will eat my neighbors. Get off my plane.
He referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small.
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
He says rectum damn near killed him.